Hello everyone and welcome to the SRC Indy 500 brought to you by SRC Live. The Indy 500 will be the SRC's debut oval event with drivers of all backgrounds coming together to compete. Today I'm joined in the booth by Troy Ewan. Troy, awesome to have you along. Troy has some knowledge of oval racing, so between us we should be able to put together a fairly competent broadcast. Troy, how are you today?
I am awesome today, and I'm super excited for Indy 500. I have a little bit of oval knowledge and experience, but Indy is just one of my most favorite ovals, and it's just such a fantastic event. The high downforce, the high speeds, it's just great. I am very excited for this race, and super excited that oval racing has come to SRC.
Of course, the Indy 500 known throughout the world as the premier oval event. Speeds of over 240 miles an hour. These guys are pushing down the straights, insane speeds, and match that by putting 25 cars plus on the circuit, and you're in for a good time. We have qualifying underway at the moment. Drivers out on track. They have one out lap, 4 flying laps, and then an in lap. So at the moment we have Carlos Fernandez currently topping the standings early on right now. Now, qualifying is fairly important at Indy here. Of course, we have a very long way to go. It's a 200 lap race, a very long event. But if you're qualifying down in the order and there may be some incident in the mid pack, then you have nowhere to go. You might get caught up in that. So, track position at the start of the race, I think, is very important.
Start of the race is obviously where things can go really wrong really quickly, as well as everyone's sort of stacked up together. So we'll see. The upper midfield are definitely going to be the ones that they want to be up there. They want to be safe. Midfield, lower midfield, that puts you at risk if something happens ahead of you. The aftermath and potentially any carnage that happens, you're coming up right up on it. Again at 200 miles per hour. So reaction timings and stuff will be important. But I'm hoping we have a good clean start, and it is possible at Indy. It doesn't always go disastrous. It's very, very possible to have a good clean start. And as long as people keep it off the aprons in the early running, that's usually what happens is people run side by side and they sort of are more looking at the car to the outside of them and not to the inner line and the apron. They catch that wheel and it just goes wrong really quick in a corner. So hopefully we'll all keep it cool. Again, we don't want our first oval race to have an awkward start.
Indeed, and Carlos Fernandez still setting the pace with 39.6 at the moment. We're having a quick chat before the broadcast, Troy and I, and anything, I think anything in this sort of area of 39.6 is very quick. So Carlos the man to beat at the moment. But where does that time come around here, Troy? I mean, the easy. The easy thing to say as a road racer is you just turn and left. I mean, obviously we know there's a lot more to it than that. When you're out there trying to get the ultimate lap time, what sort of line are you looking for? Do you go down very tight? Do you try and take as much of the bottom line as possible, or do you try and sweep in with a more traditional road racing line?
I would say, you start as wide as possible. It's the same as road racing. You want to make the corner as straight as possible. So start as wide as possible, tuck in as tight as possible without touching the apron. That's key. Keeping your car straight and flat. You don't want to be doing mid-corner corrections. You want to keep it as smooth as possible, as tight to the apron as possible, and then essentially run it out as wide as possible again. So if you're in the turn 1-2 complex, you have a full, turn in position, apex, and track out, and then your track out of turn 1 is the same as your turn in for turn 2. And you just sort of run that rhythm and keep it very, very smooth. Any sort of micro corrections you're doing scrub speed because it puts friction on the tires. So it's amazingly smooth. And something like a 39.6, I don't even know. So the times at Indy when R Factor 2 first came out, they were pretty quick like this. And I think some updates and tire model updates and stuff sort of slowed the pace back down just a little bit. So we were all sort of running low 40s, high 39s, like 39.9s. So to see people now, even with these, sort of later updated tire models and stuff, still getting to 39.6, that's just crazy fast. So these guys are booking it around Indy.
Well, I've just had Mr. Rodriguez go around and post his time. It was a 39.9 was his best effort so far, so that puts him up into 5th place. Currently put Tonga Guardia on track though. He's now coming to the pits, I think, after his effort. You see big braking there into the pit lane, and the green flag pit stop. Probably the worst thing you can do in any oval event is make a green flag pit stop, of course, but you have to be prepared for it. people don't understand that round here you don't use the brakes. The brakes are not really used around here. You just lift off the throttle, put the car in, and hope it sticks half the time. So when you do come to use the brakes from 240 plus miles an hour, it can be quite an event trying to get that braking point right coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, the only time you have heavy braking in ovals is if someone cuts you off or if you're hitting the pit lane. So those are the only two occasions. What's tricky about the pit lane too is you're usually coming off the banking onto the apron, right? Trying to get to that, cambered road, severely angled road back onto flat surface and flat tarmac. So that transferring as well makes it really tricky while you're trying to brake at the same time. Plus the fact that, especially the front left tire is a degree or two of positive camber, so that again, as road racers, it's a much different braking balance, and you know you sort of need to be turning into your braking while you're going straight. It doesn't really make much sense, but that's sort of how I would describe it. It's very easy to throw it around is sort of the summary, though. It's very, very easy. And I just saw a lot of drivers in practice were practicing their pit stops and braking for the lane. Not all of them went ideally. Let's just say that.
Yeah, practice makes perfect, and luckily around here we do have the luxury of being able to do that as sim racers. Borja Milan putting in his time in the 1ACO car, a 39.8, so a good showing by him. Very close to his teammate, only 3,000 in it. Nico Bartley going around now, who's currently 7,000 up on his best lap, just coming down the back straight now, just getting himself lined up for T3 and 4. Now, ovals usually confuse us poor road racers, because bear in mind, when you have your traditional oval, Indy's a bit different. The two corners at either end of the circuit are one sweeping corner, but then referred to as 3 and 4, for example. But here they're a lot more clear cut. As Nico Bartley actually is he's lost a bit of time there through the last couple of corners. He's going to come over the line, and he's going to post. It's still not any fast. We're still going around. We've still got another lap in the tank, I think. No, he's slowing off, so that's his best time. Into fourth place, Nico Bartley. So the 1ACO car's third and fourth right now. Good showing so far. Tobias Lang also on circuit. He's put in a 40.2 as his best lap, down in 14th position. So some people struggling, it seems. Not quite as easy as just throwing it round. We have also Curtis Kenyon on track right now as well. He's one to look out for. His current best time is a 40.6. Looking to try and get into those 39s.
We've still got 6 cars that haven't gone out yet either. And Alexander van der Woode is now into third with his time 39.7. Barclay, was on his in-lap now, and Angelone is now starting his second flying lap. So they sort of spaced it out. We had 20 minutes for them to run 4 flying laps. So some people not even running yet. They're just sort of waiting and seeing what the times come out.
Indeed, Curtis Kenyon looking pretty quick on his flying lap so far. Comes across the line, say 39.8. That puts him up into fourth place behind Van der Woode in that number 31 car. Oh, so close to the wall there. Next to the trackside cameras round here really are something to behold. Very easy to do that round here. It's a lot easier when you're driving on your own round here, Troy. You haven't got to deal with the dirty air, of course, and that's a massive factor when driving these things close together.
Yeah, when we see these guys, obviously qualifying is private at the moment, so they don't see each other on track. But in the race, you're obviously, yeah, not practicing with other cars on track will give you a huge wake-up call when you get into the race. So it was good to see a full practice server before this, and people trying to negotiate how they're going to run together, especially if it's your first time running Indy cars or first time doing ovals. High downforce ovals, again, you get that massive wash on the front end. Front tires just start sliding out wide. Then of course you wear them, heat them up, and then the next corner, if you do that into one, turn 2 is not looking good for you at all because your tires are overheated, and you're still washing out on the aero drag. So yeah, it's its art form to try and run with traffic, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, like, what I would do if we had a private qualifying is have just a totally separate qualifying setup, particularly on the aero setup, because you're gonna want more aero on the front when you have more cars in front of you, so that any washing away that happens, you sort of just balance out to a lighter downforce, but not so light that you understeer, if that makes sense.
It's all about getting that setup right around here as Shane Burke comes across the line. Maybe on an out lap. We're going to see what his time he posts just here. Say 39.9 for the SimTech entry there. Shane Burke, more commonly seen in an LMP2 car. Good to see him making the jump here to the DW12, and going into the top 10 is a respectable effort so far. A lot of drivers here, Troy, who, as you said before, maybe this is their first time at Indianapolis, maybe even it's their first time in an oval event. But of course, at SRC here, we pride ourselves on diversity of events, and it's always a great excuse to get involved in something you might not be too familiar in.
Yeah, my first ever IndyCar or oval race was Indy at Indy, and it's just sort of it's the perfect stepping stone. It's also somewhat of an intimidating stepping stone as well, as you see usually. Yeah, I mean, like short Indy races are 100 laps, right? So this is a full length 200 lap Indianapolis race. I mean, it's not a short lap either. I mean, it's 40 odd seconds. With obviously with Indy cars, right? So high speed. It's a total of a 500-mile race. That's Indy 500, 500 miles, 2.5 mile circuit, 200 laps. Yeah, there's a lot of running. There's a lot of practice. It's not an easy event to do well. I think we are running full cautions and everything, the full setup here for this event as well. And that oval strategy is much different, and everything is so compacted in oval racing, and that's sort of the nature of it, I guess. But it is so compacted, and that includes strategy calls and strategy decisions. When the safety car comes out, I mean, that's why the safety car kind of nullifies the field. It's not like a temporary, like, half a lap and then you're back to green. It really nullifies the field, collects the field, because it would just happen too quick otherwise. So, but even then, even with it nullifying the field, slowing everybody down, it still happens so quickly because it's only a 40-second lap at full speed.
Exactly, and safety cars are a thing that will be in this race. There is a live steward, so being watched like a hawk, just like usual events at SRC. Mr. Ferry on track at the moment, so I'm on the 40.2 from him. That's currently only good enough for 17th spot, but everyone pretty much is done with their qualifying laps now. We missed it, but Van der Roede did move up into second place there in that number 5 car, so Alexander, again, another driver who is perhaps more at home in a prototype, is coming here and putting on a strong showing. At the moment, we're going to keep an eye on this number 45 car as it comes round. See what sort of time he can put in. He's currently down his best sector around here, so it's not looking like he's going to improve. He's got one more lap after this, I think, to try and go a little bit better. See what he does. Comes to sign a 40.0. That does improve only just outside the 39. So I think the goal really for everyone is to try and get inside that 39 bracket, but a 140.03 is near as makes no difference. So he's already up low on his first sector around here, and you have to really focus on the corners around here because the straight, any mistake you make on an exit, you have such a long straight afterwards, it just punishes you all the way down the straight. Make a mistake on exit, that's it, lap ruined.
It's also mid-turn too. That's where really the critical point is mid-turn balance, apex speed. We'll see what Ali Ferry can do as she comes across the line here. Was a 40.035, as you mentioned. Does improve, gets to 39.874. That's the critical point. That's a solid lap into 10th, Ali Ferry.
Just shows you how competitive this field is. We were saying that a 39.8 would be a pretty handy lap, and now that's only good enough for 10th place. And I think that is now our qualifying done. So have a look quick down through the track. Darrell Russell on circuit though for the DR Motorsport guys. The boss of DR Motorsport. He's still on track currently at the moment. Currently down in 21st place. 40.3 his best time. And you'll see this a lot of people. Oh, gone.
I was going to say, Ethan Patty is just wrapping up his final flying lap. He does not take it. Oh, I'm sorry. He's got one more flying lap, but Ethan Patty in P2 at the moment, 39.661 compared to Fernandez, 39.620. Only 0.04 of a second outside of pole.
Keep an eye on that then. We've seen Ethan in practice be quite handy in these things around here. He was expressing his interest to myself in the pit lane, just how much he was looking forward to this event. Currently 6,000 of his best time. Consistency is unreal around here, coming through 3 and now through 4, down a little bit further now in his best time, but he can find it back if he gets a good exit through here. So close to the wall, they're almost touching and leaving a little bit of rubber on the wall as he goes down the straight. And now we'll see what sort of time he puts in that DR Motorsport car, see if he can pip his teammate. 40.4 there, still it's a bit of an improvement there, up to 23rd spot, but not quite enough to beat his teammate Darrell Russell.
And that was just his first 2 flyers, so we'll see what Nelson can do. He is our final runner as we just have 2 minutes left in qualifying. So we'll see. It's early. I mean, on the plus side for him, waiting this long, there's no disadvantage, and he knows all the target times he needs to hit. It's a fast. The slowest time is 40.6. It's not like Ethan Patty's gotten disqualified at some point.
Yeah, I was saying that I think Ethan Patty went over his lap allowance there.
Oh, he did.
So he's going to lose what was a pretty surefire second place there. Now starting from the back of the field, so drama there for Ethan Patty. Not quite understanding the qualifying rules there, but everyone else benefits from that. But he's going to be starting from the back of the field as Nelson does go faster again. This time he goes past his teammate, Mr. Darrell Russell, and that sister DR Motorsports car. Again, a new foray into oval racing for the DR Motorsports guys, but seem to be having fun with it so far. And Nelson is improving every lap. This will be his last flying lap as he comes around now. Oh, he's hit the wall in the exit there, I think. Hit the wall in the exit of 3. So easy to do, just pushing a little bit too hard. And that is his qualifying over. But 22nd place, he'll be happy with that because he's beating his teammate.
Yeah, and that was our final, essentially, moment of qualifying, as everyone now has completed their allotted 4 flying laps. In one case, a little bit over, but aside from that, yeah, we have Carlos Fernandez on pole, 39.620, Wude in second, 39.668, and Casanovas, 39.717. The top 3 within a tenth of a second.
Just showing you how close this field is. So we'll do a full rundown for you guys at home watching. Carlos Fernandez takes pole position at the inaugural Indy 500 race, with Alexander Van der Oude second, Jose Casanovas third, Curtis Kenyon putting a good time in 4th position, with Johnson in 5th, Borja Milan 6th, next to his teammate Nico Barkey 7th, Stephen Miller 8th, Angeloni 9th, with Ferry 10th. Coates and Burke make up 11th and 12th position, with Sebastian Rodriguez in 13th and Tonga Guardia 14th. Rona in 15th, Sherwin Van Vloot in 16th, Sintes in 17th, Jake Hall in 18th, Sam McDonald 19th, Faholski in 20th, Tobias Lang in the 20 car, he's 21st. Number 12 car of Nelson is 22nd, with Darrell Russell in 23rd position, Hess in 24th, Antonio Alminos Jr. in 25th, and rounding off the grid is Ethan Patty with that disqualification. So we're just moving into the warm-up session now. This will be a chance, Troy, for the guys to get out there and test their race setups. They're used to driving the car on a very fast car right now, so they're looking to get out there and try and get an idea of what it's like to drive a car with fuel in.
Yeah, let's get the full tank in. Let's get the race setups on. Let's see. Let's get just a few laps. We got a 10-minute warm-up and the track is open.
So we're going to pop on board quickly with James Johnson here. Give you an idea of what it's like to ride on board here with one of our IndyCar drivers today. And Navi, the first thing you're probably going to notice is the angle of the steering wheel when we get into a straight line. You're going to notice that it's pulling to the right there. Now that is by design. These cars, by default, they want to go left. That is how you have to set it up around here. So you'll see people with asymmetrical setups that benefit just the idea of turning left, which does mean if a right-hand turn does have to be made, it's a little bit of an event.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, positive camber on the left side, still negative camber on the right. Both tires are leaning towards the left instead of just one. So yeah, it's all about turning left and putting the lateral loading onto the right. So if you did need to make a right turn, yeah, it's a little bit interesting. And you'll see most guys out here, when they come out of turn 2 or turn 4, they'll sort of inherently swing to the left side of the track. That's sort of like a slingshot effect of, having a high strain, high lateral loading left turn with positive camber on the left side, and then just sort of having to carry that momentum through. If you just try to nullify and slingshot towards and stay on the wall basically on turn exit, I don't know, there's no real advantage, and so it always looks weird to a road racer when you see cars come off like turn 2 like he's about to here and swing to the left. I'm not saying he will do that, but I mean, a lot of experienced oval racers do that. They sort of just carry the momentum through because the car is naturally turning to the left. And yeah, it takes effort, right, to keep it. Steering wheel is always sort of cocked to the right to balance that through, but there's no disadvantage to carrying that left turn momentum out of the corner and then restabilizing for the next turn coming up.
not as we're just watching at the moment. Casanoves, just watching him from the trackside cameras, and you're seeing a couple of cars almost touching the wall behind. Something else we haven't mentioned so far is the gearing setup in these cars. Now, it's not unusual for 5th and 6th gear to be literally a click apart. The idea of that is to keep revs up as much as possible. So you'll see when we go on board here with James Johnson again, our camera car, you'll see he's now right on the top of 5th gear. Slipstream will then shift into 6th. See there, 375 kilometers an hour in 5th gear.
Yeah, it's all about top speed, and he's set up for the draft, which is what you want to see. You want to have a fast car when you're alone and a fast car when you're in the draft. You don't want to be topping out when you're in the draft, because that's just a waste of time. So see, he was in the draft there and popped it into 6 because he had the extra speed, and then back down to 5 for T1. So his warm-up was going really well. He's definitely getting into the rhythm.
So we just keep one eye on this as the guys get warmed up for the start of this race. Now I'm wondering what Ethan Patty's thinking down there in the pit lane right now. He was surefire on the front row of this race here, but just putting that extra lap in qualifying, got the DQ. Well, Troy, you have mild experience around here in Indy, at Indy, as you say. What are we going through Ethan's head right now?
Well, hey, I was just looking at the chat too. It looks like his pit box was past the start-finish line when he finished his out lap. So that's sort of one of the somewhat annoying things about R Factor too, is when you have a lap count, you sort of just pull in when your out lap is done, you pull into the pits and you want to just sort of park it and escape back. But if your pit box is after start finish, you've started your 7th lap, even albeit in the pits. So it would be nice to have some sort of detection from the sim that, hey, you're in your pit box, so don't over allocate because you're still in the pit lane. So he'll be sort of annoyed with that. And yeah, I mean, he's a fast car, but like we were saying earlier, starting this race towards the back, especially when you know you should be right at the pointy end, that's a little bit frustrating, but it's just going to be patience at this point. He has the car, he has the speed, he just needs the mental state now of the patience. He'll make it up. I mean, it's a 200 lap race. We have 500 miles to go, and I think that's plenty of time to make up ground. He'll be up there, give it lap 30, give it lap 40, he'll be up there again.
I'm sure we'll do Ethan Patty again, another driver from the Virtual Endurance Championship. Lots of those guys in here today, showing just the diversity of their skill. Ethan Patty, a DHR driver, so he's used to driving something with a lot of downforce. And as I said before, lots of time to go. Of course, safety cars are a big factor around here, as are when green flag pit stops fall, etc. Now I'm being told, I think we heard it was about 37 laps as a green flag pit stop. Correct me if I'm wrong, Troy. I think I read that somewhere. So the guys, well, a lot of people will be hoping for safety cars, but just not to be caught up in them.
Yeah, I mean, your strategy has to be able to work on a pivot. You can't rely on safety cars, you can't rely on not having safety cars. You sort of have to have the best of both worlds and be ready for it either way. It's when the safety car comes out, normally if you're in the middle of the race, it's pretty much just advantageous to box, unless you really just have, then you want the track position. But if you're anywhere in the lower 40% of your stint and a safety car comes out, it's a no-brainer. You pit, you box, you get your fuel, and potentially your tires.
So I just had the information updated there. It's 38 to 39 laps on a green flag stint, which means that with a little bit of fuel saving, you might end up saving that extra lap, which could help you towards the end of the race. Now, fuel saving is something that these guys will not be unfamiliar with. They're all drivers they're all road course drivers, they're all driven endurance events, and the majority of them have anyway. So they all know it is to save fuel. Now around here, saving fuel can be done in two ways, either in terms of coasting into the corner, or the most popular way to do so, especially in this event, will be slipstreaming. Being in the slipstreaming, you can get off the throttle, about 70% throttle or so, will usually be 100, and be dragged along at the same speed as the car in front, and that is a good way of saving fuel, especially if you're looking to maybe do 39 laps instead of that 38, as we've quoted before.
Yeah, fuel saving could come in. Most of the time, I think you'll pretty much be flat out at Indy. You really just want to get that speed through. It is so easy to lose a lot of time and potentially go down laps. So fuel saving techniques might not come in until the second half of the race, I would say. And it's mainly going to be if you're sort of planning the rest of the race out in your head and it doesn't look so good for needing a splash at the end. You want to avoid that final splash if possible, just like endurance racing. And it is very similar to endurance racing in the fact that you do have a lot of pit stops. It's not just 1 or 2 stop race. There's going to be a lot of stops in this race, a lot of stops, especially with safety cars. So strategy is going to change. They're going to know not only the lap count that they need to run, but the time that they can run their fuel, and they'll be able to see the laps remaining. They'll have their lap count of what a full stint can do. They'll know if they're 38 or 39, or if they're 40 with a little bit of drafting. So they'll be able to balance that out, and maybe you tuck behind a lap car and get a little bit of a fuel savings in the draft if you're looking close. But I think for the first 100 laps, you're going to see people just going for it and not too worried about strategy, because if you commit to sort of cute strategies of fuel saving and stuff like that too early, all it takes is 1 safety car or 2 safety cars and everyone's on the same page anyway. So it's really not worth it unless you're getting towards the wire, if that makes sense.
Now, something else you have to take into account is that there is an R Factor 2 spotter in this game as well. This is this event, as far as I know, there are no human spotters allowed, so they'll be relying on the R Factor 2 spotter. And a spotter is something, again, the road racers in this league would not be too familiar with. Something to let you know what's around you in your immediate FOV. I mean, they have them in real life. You could say here, unless you're running a triple screen setup with pretty much being one of those very fancy 180 curved rigs, then you're going to need that sort of thing to see who's around you, because especially on a single screen you have a very limited FOV, and there's a very big chance, unless you know exactly where the guy is next to you, that you might bump into someone, and that's what's going to cause the majority of the wreck around here. I think people maybe a little bit of miscommunication on track.
Yeah, and it will just sort of depend what people are comfortable with. I mean, I know that the different views are allowed as well, so if they're in cockpit view, absolutely what you said is completely true. You can't see really directly to the right of you unless you're really comfortable with the look left, look right functionalities in R Factor. I use those pretty much exclusively. There's also the sort of TV cam style driving view that is available to the drivers as well, and that gives you a full view of the front tire, so that will help with that sort of communication if a particular driver is running that view. The other thing being the spotter, it is possible to use it in the, or there are plugins, I should say, that they use it in road racing as well, but definitely oval racing is obviously where it makes its mark. It's much easier to use in oval racing because it constantly has relevance. There's not a single time where it doesn't have relevance, because in an oval race, even with a smaller size grid, you're constantly interacting with other cars. Road races can sort of spread out if the grid isn't big enough, and that's probably why BEC has 41 cars, right? It's hard to spread out 41 cars over a few mile track. So definitely with a 2.5 mile oval and 20 odd cars or more than 20 cars, you'll always be interacting with other cars, and that spotter gives you constant information.
It will indeed. And just coming out to the start of the race, people lining up on the circuit now. Here we go for our lap round with a pace car and a rolling start. Drivers make their final preparations now. Race setups loaded as we get ready for the SRC Indy 500. Guys, you're in the right place. You've joined us at just the right time. The race is just about to start, so get comfy, go get some snacks, go get some drinks, and get set for what will be no doubt a thrilling race around Indianapolis. Drivers taking to the grid now.
We had the wrong lap count, so we switched back to the warm up. It was set for 50 laps. 50 laps, not quite. Yeah, Indy 125 it would have been. So I think our race director Enzo just adjusting the lap count, and we'll be back into the race session.
So there you go then, just the 50 laps of Indianapolis, not to be. Obviously we're here for the full whack, so getting those reset. Drivers get a little bit more time just to calm themselves and get ready for the race.
Oh, I have a full reset actually.
So bear with us 2 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of technical issues here. We'll be back with you in just 2 ticks. So there you go, guys. Just gonna get the grid set up now, and then we'll get back into the event as soon as we can. But this is a little bit of a respite, I guess, for the drivers now. So they got themselves all hyped up to drive, and now they're being sort of told to wait a couple of minutes. I mean, what do you do as a driver in this situation, Troy? I mean, do you just sort of try and chill out, or do you try and stay in that sort of high state of alertness that you need for a start of a race?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, everyone was sort of they were getting on the grid, they were ready, they were tense, their heart rate was going up, they were, ready to go, right? And then it all stops and then you're like, what's going on? Do we have to recall like what's going on, right? So there's sort of that moment of panic, and then the issue that a couple of drivers have already brought up in the server is that there's no rubber on the track anymore. So this will be a race start with no rubber.
So that'll be an interesting obstacle for these guys to take on. I'm sure they're all capable of the challenge, but it doesn't mean that the track will be a completely different condition to what they have just experienced.
Yeah, the track is going to feel much different. And like we were just saying, we went from qualifying with a full rubber track, low fuel, potentially lower downforce. Now we're going to be a little bit higher downforce, full fuel like we're doing in warm up. But now I got to do that going in blind, not knowing the conditions of the track. It will be full green track, meaning no rubber.
Track speeds will be a lot lower at that case then, so we might see some lower lap times. It might take us a while to get back into the 39s we saw in qualifying, although that might be unlikely as it is on the race setup, but we'll have to wait and see. Some drivers making their way on track now just to try and put some rubber down, I think, at this point, trying to make sure that there is a little bit of rubber on circuit before the race begins. Not a bad decision at all.
Yeah, a couple of drivers wanting to go out and be the hero, trying to put some rubber down and help everyone else out. It's not going to rubber in that fast, so I think either way, this initial. But what's smart about what they're doing here is they should have the race set up right now. They should have their full fuel. They should be exploring what it's going to be like when we go green. So really, everyone who's concerned about grip and traction and the rubber laid down should go on track right now while we have a few minutes and try and explore the track.
Best thing you can do at this point, of course, one of the perks of having that warm-up session now is a couple of guys taken to the circuit just to try and get an idea of what it's like out there right now on this green circuit. And Shane Burke and the SimTech one of the people to be out on the track at the moment, and we'll see what we'd like to see with this. There's a little bit of rubber on track right now, but not too much. Again, the R Factor 2 does feature a dynamic real road rubber build-up, so as the track progresses, it gets more grippy. You'll see a black line develop on the circuit, and that'll be the fast line. So right now, the drivers out there trying to put that in. And of course, throwing a tyre through a corner at 200 plus miles an hour is a great way to get the rubber back down on track.
Yeah, a lot of guys taken to the circuit now as we sort of try and work with the positions from qualifying, trying to restore the positions in this warm-up session from the actual qualifying session, and then we'll be moving to the race session shortly. So give us a few more minutes, guys, and we'll be into the race for the proper 200 laps, 500 miles of Indy 500. And yeah, you can see the lap times already. Van der Wood, who was second or third, I thought, in qualifying, 41.1. That's race pace on low rubber.
We just see a couple of people out there doing 40s in warm-up. So that isn't too far for circuit, but of course you have to remember that a second on a 40-second lap is quite a lot of time. It's not the same as maybe over a lap of Spa where a lap time's over 2 minutes. A second here is night and day.
Yeah, it's sort of like the percentage of the lap time that you're off, right? And yeah, I mean, so Casanova is already to 40.2, and if that's on the race setup, and there's not too much of an effect there. I think it's nearly full race pace. It's almost gotten back to the 39 mark.
Of course, all the drivers taking the track now. We have 6 minutes until warm-up will progress. Watching Van der Wood go around in a very interesting livery of his. Nice to see effort put into the liveries round here, of course.
I think he's left the wireframes on the livery when he exported it. I was just noticing, oh, it's an interesting texture. I think it's the wireframes from the Photoshop file.
So we can see around here, of course. And the guys who So yeah, if you are interested in getting involved with events like this, and bear in mind this is a free event for anyone to enter, regardless of SRC license or fee, you can come here and join for free. Then go over to the SimRacing.Club Facebook page, that's SimRacing.Club, the Facebook page, and also go to the actual website page and sign up. Current community is 2,600 members strong last time Jim Allison gave me a number for that, so I mean that is a ridiculous amount of people in one place, and especially it's all centered around currently RF2. We are looking to move into other sims as well. We currently have a Automobilista league running as well, so if you're interested in running in some leagues organised by some fantastic guys and a friendly group of staff, then come check us out at SimRacing.Club.
Yep, awesome place to race. The new license structure and the different league requirements and stuff like that is really, really cool. It's a nice way to show progression as drivers get more experience. The academy is a very cool concept to get people into VEC and other championships by just making sure that they're a safe driver, not necessarily, you know, the next alien or the next championship winner, but just make sure they're safe on track. And we'll get them into a VEC car or a BLMS car as a sort of a feeder series to VEC as well. So there's a lot going on at SimRacing.Club right now, and it's very fun to be a part of, just in general.
Good enough, so I have to remind you, this is the first oval event ever conducted by SimRacing.Club. I think the turnout here is pretty great. We've got 26 drivers at the moment on the circuit, all ready to go for the INDY500 distance. And the thing you don't realise sometimes, like I've done 500s in the past, both in a stock car and in a DW12 here. The thing you don't realise is just how long the 500 is. I mean, you're sitting there and you think, okay, well that's pretty quick here, 40 seconds, that's easy. I'll bash this out in an hour or so. Not so. I mean, it's not uncommon for some Indy races to go Indy 500 races to last for 4 hours.
Yeah, I remember my first Indy 500 was well over 3 hours. It was a long and way longer than I thought. There were so many, and the cautions are the big factor in that. It just slows the race right down as everyone sort of stops. And it just takes a long time. And there's several laps behind the safety car. Everyone does their stops. That adds many minutes to the overall race time. And then obviously you have your natural pit stops and stuff. This is a distance race, not a time race. Distance is the winning criteria. So we do have to complete 500 miles regardless of how long it takes.
Some drivers still out on track right now. Times are starting to improve as the rubber does go down to 40.3 out on the circuit. I think Mr. Johnson's gone a bit faster on a 40.1, so the rubber is being laid down, so that's a good factor for the race coming up, because all these guys of course have been practicing with rubber, so it just shows the adaptability of these drivers to be able to do so, be on circuit with no rubber on circuit. So just over 2.5 minutes now until we get going to green. Drivers getting themselves hiked up, and this is effectively free practice for them, practice they wouldn't have got, so we could argue it's actually a bit of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it gives everyone a chance, and look, I mean, most of the grid is on track right now. The entire grid will be on track when the actual race starts, so this is just a feel of how it's going to seem. Everyone's on the race setup, everyone's on full fuel, they're laying rubber down, they're negotiating, they're overtaking. It's just good race practice, basically, and I think we'll have a better race because of it.
We'll do. A couple of cars in the wall there, getting a bit of a suffering because of the wash. So it's on 2 minutes now until we do go to green flag. With Mr. Johnson leading the times right now. These times, of course, don't matter. It's just a matter of going out there and getting used to how the car reacts under these conditions. And we mentioned before, the wash round here is going to be the big factor. I think people that may not be used to driving in traffic, although this is a good chance to practice. Wash is it's basically understeer, dirty air. These cars rely heavily on aerodynamics, which is air flying over the rim, over the wings of the car and pushing the car down to the circuit, otherwise known as downforce. When you're following a car closely, the air in front is disturbed and you aren't getting that same downforce that you're used to, which is why you see some cars, when following others, running a little bit wide around here. Some drivers are going to have to account for in this event.
Yeah, tire management is critical around here, because obviously there's a lot of energy going through the tires at all points. And the key is, I mean, a lot of times the understeer is sort of bearable, especially if you've accounted for it in your setup. but even if you're stabilizing, keeping the lap time through the corner, you're putting way more energy through the tires, and they heat up and they wear out. And it's not uncommon to, it's one of the nice effects of R Factor 2, actually, as you see with these open wheel cars. You can really see how the rubber model, the visuals of the tire itself sort of affect as the stint goes on. And you see just solid black stripes in the middle of the tires. And I do believe we have 20 seconds to go. We might be starting here.
Indeed, and that's something that is unique to R Factor 2, being able to see that visual degradation of the tyre as the race goes on. We'll keep an eye on that. Again, the big story of today is Ethan Patty. He was set for a front row qualifying result, but got disqualified on his final lap. I think he ran a lap too long there. So he's going to be starting from the back of the grid, and definitely someone to watch. 26 cars will be taken to the field today, taking on the mammoth event that is the Indianapolis 500, the first ever SRC Oval event to be broadcast live by the SRC Live team, myself, Timmy Broadbent, and Troy Ewan in the booth. It's going to be a fantastic event. Make sure you stick around, grab your snacks, grab your drinks, and get ready for what will be, no doubt, a barnstorming event.
So we move into the race session. 20 seconds to go before we start following the safety car around for a rolling start. Carlos Fernandez again on pole. So these are going to be different than the times we were just seeing in that warm-up session that we had. Fernandez on pole, Woody third, Casanovas third. Woody second, my bad, sorry. Casanovas third.
You can see all the cars lined up on the grid there. You can just see just how many cars we have there. 26 cars. The safety car pulls away for our outlap here. We'll keep an eye on the guys at the front. Good time here again. Go on, Nathan.
Good showing by Atlantic, obviously taking Atlantic Motorsport, that is, taking first and third for this event. So Atlantic Motorsport looking very, very good as a team. And obviously they've been working together on the setup. Setup's so key in oval racing in general, but especially at Indy, because again, we were just talking about, got to be set up for the draft, got to be set up for the drag, got to be set up for the washout, and then got to be set up to be fast by yourself. The setup is just a compromise of about 8 different things, as always in racing, but it's so critical at Indy because you can't really make up for it, a poor setup, by just overdriving or anything like that. It's on the edge all the time. You're already overdriving.
We're up to T3 now, and these guys look slow right now, but they're already doing 150 k's behind that Corvette safety car there. Just imagine a minute we're going to go more than double that, as Carlos Fernandez no doubt has his views in his mirrors coming around T3 now, and then T4. The safety car will peel him, and it'll be up to him to control the grid. Around now through T4. Hart will be racing inside that cockpit of that Atlantic car. Watch that safety car in front.
Woody's ready for this.
Indeed, it looks like we're going for another lap behind the safety car. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We have two green flag or true safety car laps around here. So restrain your hype for a little while, and we'll get back to it in a second. But we got another chance for Fernandez just to check everything's there, check his belts, check all his dials, make sure everything's reading green. Of course, the one to watch for us will be Ethan Patty in that 11 car, right away on the back of the field.
Sorry, keep in mind that too, fuel is burning off the car, albeit not very fast, but this is, we are, for all intents and purposes, strategy-wise, the race has already started. Fuel is burning off the cars right now. So what gear you're in is going to affect your fuel usage, and it's just sort of those slight strategies of maybe I'm in a higher gear because we're all at a static speed. Be in a higher gear, lower revs, use less fuel. All those strategy implications are taking effect right here, right now, as we follow the safety car.
See Ethan sort of dropping back there at the back of the field, just, I guess, waiting, not interested in any weaving at all, not going to warm those tyres right now. Of course, the best way to really warm tyres is to drag the brake a little bit. We haven't seen that much around here. You see already, if you look at the inside tyre of Carlos Fernandez, there's a little bit of rubber there building up on the far left-hand side. That will only get worse as the tyre degrades, but this will be it now coming through T4. We'll keep one eye on Carlos Fernandez. He'll be leading us away, I'm sure. Yeah, watching this call right now, we'll pull into the pace. Gears go down there, down to first gear for Carlos Fernandez. Left hand side, waiting for the green. And there we are, green flag here for the Indianapolis 500 as presented by SRC. Well, a bad getaway there by Fernandez. Van der Wouden's going to go around the outside, still on the outside there of Fernandez going through 1 and 2. Fernandez there going to take a low line nice and early. As Curtis Kenyon moves up into third place, he's up on the high side though. Jose Capanoza just defending that low line. And now we're going to see the slipstream James Johnson as well in the background there, just ducking into the 15 car, into the slipstream. And very nice and careful on these early laps. Don't want to get involved in any incidents right now. Right at the start of the race, you see drivers being nice and cautious around each other right now. As Fernandez moves back into the lead to Van der Woude in second place, just holding on to that draft right now. Casanovas in first and third. So a good getaway from the Atlantic guys.
Beautiful getaway. Casanovas getting a nice double draft as he follows Woude through turn 1. Woude not able to take advantage of Fernandez into turn 1, lap 1, but he is following closely, so that is not over. Curtis Kenyon, James Johnson, those guys had a nice near 3 wide as James Johnson now goes to the inside of Casanovas for third, tucks back in, sees if he can get a little bit more draft before the corner, see what he can do. James Johnson looking at third overall right now, can't do it. Casanovas takes the full line back.
Johnson looking very feisty at this stage of the race, of course. We're literally only now coming on to lap 2 of this 200 lap event, so maybe a little more patience needs to be exhibited by Johnson as we go down the straight again.
Casanovas on Woude. Casanovas on Woude into second. Atlantic run 1 and 2. Woude caught the back of Casanovas' tire. Casanovas turned in a little bit too quickly, take the outside line. Johnson's and Woude go side by side now into turn 2. No, they don't. Woude will take the full line. Atlantic run 1 and 2.
A bit of contact there, as Troy said. I just caught the wheels there, but Casanovas threw okay up into second spot now, looking into the slipstream of his teammate with Van der Woude and James Johnson now close together, coming through 3 and 4. See Johnson there getting a little bit of a dirty air there coming through 3, and Van der Woude won't be happy with that. He's someone who can be unsettled by contact, Van der Woude, so now I'll be sure he'll be trying to get back. And we have a yellow flag on circuit, safety car out. Let's see if we can find what happened there.
Darrell Russell.
See if we can get a replay of what happened there. I'm just looking back at it now. Darrell Russell was looking at the inside.
His teammate.
Oh, that was interesting by Darrell Russell. Tried to go onto the grass there to overtake his teammate into 3. Worst thing you want to do there. So a bit of bad driving there by Darrell Russell is going to cost his team massively, as both DR Motorsport cars caught up in that, and we have our first caution of the day, unsurprisingly right at the start of the race.
Well, the hardest lap was always going to be the first lap, and drivers did very well there. Sort of, we're starting to settle in. I'm not entirely sure about that move by Darrell Russell. It was pretty ambitious, and at any time you're looking at the grass at Indy is not a good sight. But man, the action at the front, Carlos Fernandez and Jose Casanovas, 1 and 2. Woude a little bit caught out there a couple of times with James Johnson, Curtis Kenyon, Milan, Barclay. They're all looking racy. That was a 4-way fight for third as that safety car came out. So the top is going to be entertaining the whole way through, I feel.
We still have Nelson out on track at the moment, and he's really struggling. He's got no rear wing, so he's trying to just pull it back to the pits. There's a couple of cars off circuit there, and being caught out by the safety car. There's another car going slow as well. Who's that there on the infield?
Hess does not have a. Does he have a rear? He does not have a rear wing. 4 cars hit the lane that I can see. 5, I think.
We also have Antonio Amanis Jr. as well, who's really struggling now. That car is very badly damaged, and has to be his Indy 500 over as he struggles to get back to the pits. But that car is pulling very heavily to the left. There's lots of cars coming to the pits now.
Alexander Hess is actually stopping for a pit stop, but does have a drive-through penalty that was assigned as well. So he will need to go out and back. And I don't think he can take a drive-through under safety car. I think it has to be under green, but I'm not sure about that.
It does indeed. So just watching these guys. So currently we have Nelson from DR Motorsports' car, Darrell Russell in the pits as well, responsible for the incident that caused the caution, and Hess in the pits as well, the URT team. Luke Walsh coming back out low in the Simtech car, so he came in as well. He's back out in 22nd place. Shane Burke also decided to come in as well. He's back out with Rona in the in the number 13, number 19 car, also coming out of the pit lane.
Obviously, you saw the top 8, the top 10, or whatever it was, most of the top front runners not taking advantage of this pit stop. It's only 3 laps in, and of course, you're pretty much surefire to have another safety car at some point. So the guys keeping their track position, people in the midfield or the back obviously taking the advantage to go a little bit off strategy compared to the leaders, and hopefully maybe that passes out. Or of course, a few that had damage, of course, being forced by design to hit the pits, and a couple of them still in the pits, 3 people still in the pits for that incident.
Losing a lap, they will, and that's a big deal here. And losing a lap is the worst thing that could happen to you at this stage of the race. Just getting a report in here from our race director saying that was a drive-through for Hess because he ran into the back of Arminios under the full course caution, which explains why we saw Antonio Arminios Jr. without a rear wing and struggling to get back into the pit. So as a result of that, a penalty has been assigned to Alexander Hess for poor driving there. So we'll keep an eye on that. But as it stands, obviously order unchanged at the front. Van der Woede gets a bit of a chance to breathe now. I wonder if he's got any damage to that car. The contact, it wasn't a small contact. There was quite a significant bump there between the cars. I'm wondering if that car is damaged.
It might, and it might just take a little bit of aero performance off the car, slightly less top end speed and a slightly less feel in the corners. It doesn't take much with these cars, to be honest, especially if damage is at 100%, which I believe it is. It does not take much with these cars, and yeah, that was a bit of a whack, but he's sticking in there, and I don't know, unless something else happens, I don't think he'll even worry about repairing it in the stops unless he loses track position before that, but he's not going to want to give up track position because of it. He's still in third here.
Again, it's not that big of a deal right now to be at this point. Being told now that I think this will be watching that safety car in front. Yeah, safety car's now going to pull off. We're going to go back green here at INDY500. Resume the race. Carlos Fernandez taking control of the field. Waiting for that green to come. Watching him now. Being nice and easy on that throttle there. Don't want to spin it in first gear. So easy to do that round if you're not careful. And there we are. Green, green, green. Back to green at the SRC INDY500 with Casanovas there following his teammate into T1. Van der Woede gets a good start there. It's quite a good jump actually on Casanovas in front of that Atlantic Motorsport DW12 coming through now T2. Everything's going to be a little bit cold at this point. Tyres will cool down a little bit, but Van der Woede looking very aggressive early on now, trying to get into that deep into that slipstream. We look into the inside coming to free, goes to the inside nice and early, makes his intentions very clear. He's side by side, goes up the inside, almost looks at the guy in front. Contact there with Casanovas, which is going to send him wide, but no damage there. It seems to have got away with that scot-free, but saying that, Casanovas loses 2 places back to one to Van der Woede and one to James Johnson. Johnson gets a nice run through 4 now into the slipstream. He's going to look at Woede now into T1. And a very quick, a very eventful first lap of Early Troy as Johnson moves up into P2, going up the inside.
Johnson made up 2 spots with that. Casanovas down 2 spots. Woede ends up in third again, even though he's the one that initiated that move. And what you saw there was another yellow. And I think we have Ethan Patty out. Tobias Lange has retired. Luke Walsh has retired. So there was definitely a big crash. And on that note,
have a look at the replay. Oh yes, it is. It's Tobias Lang at 4. He goes to the inside of the number 4 car, just hits it. Contact there. Is spun around. Ethan Patty has nowhere to go. His day goes from bad to worse, into the wall hard there. And though both cars, I will not be surprised if that is a double retirement. But you know the old saying, cautions breed caution. And this is the result of that today with both Tobias Lang and Ethan Patty, I think, out of this race.
I think Lang just sort of got caught up by Vakulski, went to the inside of Miller, and Miller was on the outside and was ducking more towards the inside. Lang sort of caught off guard, was sort of already committed to going full speed through the corner, and that's ended in Ethan Patty getting collected with nowhere to go, as you said. Very unfortunate incident. That's affected a lot of drivers.
So, yeah, more cautions here at the SRC Indy 500. Just waiting now to see. Ethan Patty has now officially retired the car, so a big shame for him. Again, we said before at the start of the race that qualifying further up the grid is going to be important, as Alexander Hess is allowed to get a lap back there, but Ethan Patty there with this disqualification then suffering for it, as he is now out of the race with more damage.
So if Hess took his drive-through, that will look good for him, but I think even though with getting that lap back, I think he's still a lap behind due to that long damage repair. So Hess not quite back on the lead lap yet.
It's not, so he'll go around and get an idea of the to him, and that is good for Hess. I mean, obviously he had a bad start, he had a drive-through penalty assigned already, but this is what he needs. He needs stuff like this happen to get back into the event, and Hess wasn't actually too slow in qualifying. He put in a decent result in qualifying, so this is a bit of a second chance for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw Nelson got through as well. So he was waved through the safety car. Darrell Russell goes back into the pits, it's looking like, from already 22nd. Darrell Russell back into the lane. But man, at the front there, Fernandez got caught out by leading the restart. It was Casanovas in second. Obviously was right on the tail of Fernandez back after turn 2. Did not want to go for the move on his teammate, but then Wude said, well, if you're not going to go for the move, I'm going to go for the move. Wude up the inside of Casanovas, and yeah, a bit of a tap as well, so Wude and Casanovas have a bit of a collision in turn 3 on that last restart. But Fernandez lucky to maintain the lead because, yeah, obviously you're the one car that doesn't have a draft to tow you down the straights.
So Fernandez right now just looking to catch the safety car, it seems, at this point. Which is currently on the back stretch.
Yeah, actually the leaders are the one that are not on the safety car, as pretty much everyone from P5 down is caught by the safety car, but the leaders coming up to the safety car now on the back of the train. So this makes things interesting.
I'm unsure as to what's happened here. I'm not quite sure why the leaders have gone past the safety car. Looking like they're passing now, but this is going to put the whole field a lap down by my estimation, so I'm not really sure what's happening here.
I'm not entirely sure that the leader should be going through. If I remember to when I was doing well, it does look like it actually. Fernandez says he needs to be behind. Fernandez's R Factor 2 says he needs to be behind Nelson, so he will just slot behind Nelson. Johnson is following Fernandez. Wude is following Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking now. The whole field now is now put a lap down there, so I have no idea what's going on here. This is unprecedented, so I'm not quite sure if there's been some sort of error with the game here. But at this point, the whole field is going to be put a lap down if the guys in the lead cars do not slow. Let the train go around again, which at this point it's just not possible because we're on the last lap of the safety car right now.
Yeah, it's not. And so Fernandez had the safety car's almost spun out there. Oh my god. All right, well, putting that aside, Fernandez had the prompt to get behind Nelson. Nelson was one of the ones that was waved through, and now it looks like, is the field going through now? Yes, the field is starting to shuffle through now, so they will get that lap back. What the game is trying to do is get the leaders at the front of the safety car pack, because the safety car came out behind the leaders. That's essentially what's happened. The safety car came out behind the leaders, and then Nelson and the other lap car got their lap through. That was Hess, I believe, and then Fernandez got the prompt to get on the back of Nelson, who was at the front of the grid. And yeah, a bit awkward, but the entire field will go through now, and we'll shuffle through, and we'll see. What's good about this, at least, it seems a little bit confusing, but what's good about it, at least, is it will not give any unfair advantages due to a game system. And as I say that, unfortunately, the safety car is going into the lane. It's let everyone else through, but the safety car is in now.
Well, let's see what Fernandez does. Obviously, we do have a live race director who will be trying to fix the situation, but Carlos Fernandez goes green anyway, it seems. Back up to racing speed again, though. Not sure if he's actually quite at racing speed. He seems to be... No, yeah, he's coming up now to the 300k margin. There's James Johnson behind him. So the guys are green back at the front now. The 21 car taking the low line there from Johnson. So we are back to green there with things yet to be resolved, it seems. But we're at a race at the moment with Carlos Fernandez still leading from James Johnson. For the Fernandez in that one car is going to take to the inside line there, try and get past this lap traffic in front, and it is lap traffic as Johnson then ducks back in, sorry, behind the 21 car, apologies. And this is going to be one that I don't envy the race director at this point.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward because we have the fight for the lead here between Fernandez and Johnson right behind the lap cars of Hess and Nelson, as Fernandez to the inside of Hess, Johnson to the inside of Hess. It goes okay, 3 and 4 through the inside of Hess as well. Fernandez now getting a draft by Nelson out of turn 2. Johnson behind Fernandez. losing a little bit of pace, but he'll tuck in behind Nelson. Fernandez loses the draft, goes to the inside of Nelson. Johnson still with the draft from Nelson, a little bit, tucks in behind. We'll take the inside of Nelson. So they will clear the traffic, and the gap, Fernandez got a little bit of a break there, I believe. Johnson a little bit more hesitant through traffic. Wude goes through Nelson. And, and that's Casanovas actually hit the back of Nelson. Casanovas has hit the back of Nelson. He's lost his front wing. So from P4, Jose Casanovas has lost his front wing in P4, just started the lap. This is going to be a long lap from Casanovas. Keep it out of the wall, but he's going to have to pit. P4 has lost his front wing.
So P4, that's really unfortunate for Casanovas there. But if I were the race director, for instance, I would call another yellow, get the field back together again. This is not how the race should be at this point, but we'll try and go with regards. But that is drama there for Casanovas. Losing that front wing, someone who was so fast at the start of the race, seeing now having to lift massively as Borja Milan there goes. Sorry, not Borja Milan, sorry, that's another car there, number 4 car.
It's his teammate Miller. Milan's a little bit further back, so Cafanos will duck into the lane now. I wonder if he doesn't realize he's lost his front wing, because he hasn't pitted there. Or if he's waiting for a yellow to do it under the yellow, but Casanovas has taken a purposeful lap without a front wing.
Slow down gradually and form up to a pack again.
So we're being told there that the race director is aware
maximum
of the
speed
situation.
of 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour.
The drivers are being told to slow down. No one's done it just yet, though, it seems. Drivers are now all slowing down, and it's an effort to try and get the field back together again, of course, after the issue.
I see Fernandez still going full speed here.
Fernandez, some drivers maybe not on the team speak, it seems. A lot of people still out there doing it. Speed. Darrell Russell's one of them. Darrell Russell already caught up earlier on in some bad driving. Let's see if he's continuing. He is still continuing.
Fernandez is just blown by a group of about 7-8 cars that were slow. He finally gets the message from the in-game chat. I don't think Fernandez was hearing the race directors at all there. And obviously Wude, Johnson, they were going with him because they didn't want to lose their position. So what basically it was a enforced yellow just to neutralize the field. The game didn't throw a safety car, and the race director telling Fernandez, let the cars you just passed go through again. So Fernandez needs to give those spots back. That came out basically after the ad hoc yellow.
So at this point we do have quite a few retirements as of yet. Mr. Ferry is one of them, his car there. We also have Hess, a retirement as well, in the URT car with Tobias Lang and Ethan Patty both out. Luke Walsh in the Simtech car, and Antonio Alminas Jr. having been having the contact with Hess earlier on in the race. So lots of cars there out as Jose Casanovas overtakes the leader. I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't understand.
That wasn't leader. That was Sam McDonald. Casanovas, I'm not entirely sure. Fernandez is now parked on the side of the road waiting again for the cars that he overtook under ad hoc yellow, which I've just named. I don't know what the situation is called. I'm just sort of naming it on the fly here. But a manual yellow flag that was enforced, and he will let the likes of Sam McDonald and the rest of the field go back. Casanovas, I don't know what's happened to Woody and Johnson, but Casanovas has still without a front wing, I might add, is now behind Fernandez in P2.
So we'll just have to wait and see how things shake out after this quote-unquote ad hoc caution is over and done with. But with standings as they are at the moment, with Carlos Fernandez currently leading the field from Jose Casanovas, his teammate. James Johnson in third place with Van der Woode fourth and Borja Milan in fifth.
So this is kind of awkward here. Johnson and Wuda are in the train of cars that Fernandez and Casanovas were letting through, and Fernandez will get back in front of Johnson and take the spot, so that's good. They sort of negotiated that very well. So Casanovas back in first, Johnson second, Wude third, as it should be, and Casanova gives the spots back, so he will get back to fourth. So it looked a little bit awkward on timing for a little bit, but we're all back to where we should be as these top four are concerned.
Seems so. We'll keep an eye on that as we watch our ticker at the top of the screen. We'll see just what the gaps are and see how many people are still a lap down, with Johnson now showing as fourth with the pit of...
Drivers are allowed to catch up to the pack. So single drivers are allowed to catch up to the pack.
We're just being told by race control that drivers who are off the back are allowed to catch up to the back. Let's hope they slow down in time and don't run into the back of everyone else. We've seen that a couple of times already in this race as Nelson from DL Motorsport does slow down plenty of time there. Shane Burke opting to go around the cars, it seems. I think he's a lap down at this point, so going to get a lap back.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, he's taking spots away from people like Miller and Roner, who are not going to be doing what he's doing. So I don't know why he's put that into his own hands to do, because he was already in the pack.
We'll wait and see, I guess, at this point.
And Nelson goes through as well, because I've just seen that. But overall, we have a nice train of cars. Jake Hall in 10th is trying to rejoin the field. So is Sam McDonald, Vakulski, Guardia. So pretty much 10 and 11, 12, 13, 14. They're all line astern trying to catch up to the pack. Same with P16.
Stephen Miller and Tobias Reuner can overtake the leaders.
Okay, and the race director giving Stephen Miller and Tobias Roner the wave by. Roner goes through. I don't think Miller quite understands what that... Yeah, that's absolutely. Good job, Stephen Miller. Just go around. So this is a full ad hoc yellow. And conducted very well from the race director to get this all on board, give people the wave bys when they should have. It's basically a safety car period without having an actual safety car on track, just done via the race director's directions on TeamSpeak. So well done.
It's just benefit, of course, the drivers who were a lap down, so Stephen Miller and Shane Burke, the big winners there. Another lap is, a lap down here is was hard to get back, but now back on the lead lap, which is important for them, and everyone is now back in the lead in the train now, so shouldn't be too long before they go green again, and hopefully a bit of a longer green flag stint there, as we're only 18 laps into this 200 lap event. And we said earlier how cautions can really slow the race down. This is a good example of that.
So we have back up to 16 cars on the lead lap. So this has done well for them. They've gotten their laps back. Again, I think kudos to the race director here, Enzo Fazzi. He's done a great job controlling this field. And through the text chat and the broadcast on all the race channels in TeamSpeak. And yes, we do have 17 cars on the lead lap. So this has worked out very well for everyone, and we'll just have a straight 17-car train as Roner goes through again. So does Nelson.
Still some multiple laps down, so still getting those laps back as Shane Burke caught unaware there. The car's in front a little bit slow it seems, but hopefully everyone will still be on the same lap when we do go green. We're waiting for the race director to call that. We're at the point now where this is not a yellow thrown by the game, it is thrown by the live stewards.
Okay, so Roner and Nelson are back on the lead lap now as well. So everyone back on lap 18. Darrell Russell is on 16, courtesy of that pit stop for damage, but everyone else on lap 18.
So I'm just waiting now for the race director to make the call. Everything looks very nice and sorted there as Nelson nearly goes into the back of Roner there.
The leader is allowed to go to green flag when he wants to.
So leader is being given control of the field. Carlos Fernandez then coming.
The leader can control the pace from now on.
We are then control. Pace is being controlled. Carlos Fernandez at the head of the field still. He's led the field a couple of times now. Johnson now, I'm sure, raring to try and get into that top spot with Van der Boede still there, stalwart in third place. And there goes Fernandez, and we're back green here at Indianapolis. A good start there by Van der Boede, who's on the outside, got a nice jump there, and Johnson to go around the outside, not quite enough pace to do that right just yet, but a great getaway there from Fernandez, but the draft will bring back together very quickly, I'm sure. Casanova's there still out without the front wing, it seems.
And Milan right behind him. I'm curious how this is going to go, because Casanovas does not have a front wing, so his cornering speeds are going to be really good. Looking at further back, Coates looking at Milan for P5, not going to happen. Wuda into second, and almost spins it. Caught a little bit of the apron, did Wuda into turn 3. Almost spins it. Johnson has to lift because of it. Johnson behind in P3 now. Looking back at second spot, he just held Johnson to the inside of Wuda. Side by side now as they run down to 1. Wuda on the outside. They're exactly identical. Track just side by side as Johnson takes the inside. Wuda will have to tuck in behind. Coates and Milan get by Casanovas while that was going on as well. So Coates and Milan, Coates actually got by Milan as well, I do believe. And sort of took out Fernandez at this point. Is just taking, he's 1.3 seconds off the lead. Biggest lead margin we've had all race.
Yeah, Casanovas is just not, I don't think he's got the call to say that he's got the lack of front wing. He's just falling down position now, back down to 8th spot. Surely he must know now something is wrong. He must come to the pits, but he goes round again. I have no idea what's going through the mind of Casanovas right now. But obviously at this point it's just damaging as Curtis Kenyon making the best of that. And oh, up the inside goes Borja Milan there of Curtis Kenyon. Back to the front of the field, and yes, Carlos Fernandez is enjoying a little bit of a lead right now. Of course, we'll see Johnson and Van der Woode might catch back up again with the slipstream, but a little bit of a break here for Carlos Fernandez, who so far has not put a foot wrong. He's led from the get-go, led from pole position, 21 laps led so far from him. We've got Coates now is new to the top 4. He's going to be able to challenge Van der Woode getting into that slipstream. Van der Woode seems to have got the pace a little bit, as in the background I've just seen, I think that was Borja Milan or Nico Barkley went into the wall there. Very easy to do that, so that might mess up their suspension as Coates goes up the inside of Van der Woode.
Nicely done by Coates. Now, a little bit further back, Casanovas has caused a lot of panic as he's off the pace and has put the likes of Angeloni, McDonald, Hall, Bakulski all in a bit of an awkward situation. A little bit of rubbing, a couple of side-by-sides going on back there. So Casanovas really needs to be hitting the lane. He's corking the entire field, essentially. Coates does go into 3rd, Woode in 4th, Kenyon all over the back of Woode for 4th. So Curtis Kenyon in 5th. Milan dropped a little bit back. We have gaps, so 1, 2, and 3 are spaced out by a few seconds. Coates has a little bit of a gap over Woode, and Kenyon tucks in behind as well. Casanovas still in front of Angeloni. Angeloni cannot get by Casanovas. Casanovas without the front wing. I'm going to hop back there a little bit as Angeloni is now...
Caution thrown.
Caution. Full course caution. As for...
That is for Sintes, it seems, in the Velez car from what I can see. Have a look. He comes into the pit lane under a green flag stop and gets it loose on the brakes and hits the pit wall out onto the circuit. Stationary on the pit straight, and there is now another caution there. But this now, this is where Casanovas needs to go, right, I am damaged, I need to pit in now. This is the best time that he can do it. He can't stay out there with that front wing. He's going to be causing, he's unsafe at this point. I'm actually unsurprised that the race director has not said to him to pit it, but this is the best time for him to do so.
Yeah, Angeloni, McDonald, Hall, Bakulski, they were all corked up behind him. Lost a lot of time to the top 6, top 7. Casanovas was still defending. That's the thing I think I have issue with. If you're going to be out damaged and just waiting for a caution like this, then you can't really be corking people and defending with wide elbows. So Casanovas really needs to hit the pit lane now.
We'll keep an eye on him as Sintes comes through the pit lane. He's still lacking a front wing though, so wonder why he is still out in the circuit. He's coming to get that sorted out. We'll keep one eye, of course, on Casanovas in that damaged Atlantic car. Was running as high as 2nd at one point. The damage is slowing down, putting down into 4th. And Van der Woode wasn't quite as sprightly in the restart as I expected, Troy.
Yeah, Woode a little bit caught out. Florian Coates has made massive ground. He took 2 spots. He was fighting with Milan, who's back in 6th at this point. So Coates has made like there's no tomorrow getting into 3rd. Coates does dive for the lane as well. So strategy playing a factor here. Woode drives for the lane. Casanovas finally dives for the lane. So is Angeloni behind. So now we're going to see strategy start to play a factor. We're 24 laps in. Fernandez is Kenyon. Curtis Kenyon takes P3 courtesy of those decisions. Almost half the field hits the lane at this point.
Not a bad time to do it now. We've told that a green flag run is usually around 38 or 39 laps. We're only 25 laps in now, but some people are opting to come in, get some fresh tyres, fill up that tank and just take advantage. It's quite a good idea to be off sequence with everyone else, because it means everyone else can then take you into account when planning their own stocks, and it's all a matter of mind games around here. Van der Woode is the one to watch. I think he's the highest driver to opt to come in. Casanovas finally into the pits now. It'll be a long stop for him, no doubt, because he is missing that front wing. Lots of people taking to lane now. We've got Anzoni in the pits as well, Coates in the pits. We've got Stephen Miller in the pits as well, Sebastian Rodriguez there, Rona in the pits. So a lot of drivers choosing to come in and take that alternate strategy, but that will then promote Curtis Kenyon up into 3rd place and Borja Milan up into 4th.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Coates and Woode are now 11th and 12th, and they're going to be the ones we need to remember about because they are the leaders of the off-sequence stops at around lap 25. So what Coates and Wuda have done now is basically been able to stretch them almost half a stint or more into the race distance than the leaders, the top 10. So we'll see what the top 10 do versus 11 and 12 as Coates and Wuda. Fernandez, following the safety car in P1, is going to have to do another lap behind the safety car. I think this will be the last lap behind the safety car. So that all sort of playing out nicely as, yeah, we have some new faces up towards the top. Milan, Barclay, McDonald, they have moved up and benefited from those pit stops. Track position versus strategy in terms of fuel. So we'll see how this balances out. Now we have really two main strategies going on. I'm actually going to make a note of it. The lap 25 pit stops might be something we talk about for the next 50 odd laps.
Maybe so. And Shane Burke, who was a lap down a couple of laps ago, is now up into 9th position. Just goes to show that the lucky dog there is very fortunate for that SimTech car. The number 28. So he's looking maybe to capitalise on that break of luck for him. Jake Hall in 7th place now. But still at the front we have Carlos Fernandez. So it'll be very interesting for Carlos, because although his teammate Jose Casanovas was damaged, it'll be interesting for him to have that contact and then see how Jose's strategy is working out as the race progresses. That is the perk of having two cars in this event, is you have someone that you can feed back to, someone who can be a guinea pig. In this case it will be Casanovas, because he is a damaged car a bit further down. But right now 20 cars still running on the circuit. We currently have 6 retirements, so bit of a hectic first couple of laps here, Troy.
Definitely. The first 25 laps have been very interesting. Casanovas, incidentally, rejoined in 17th, with Angeloni getting ahead of him in the stops due to his longer stop. Angeloni in 16th. Makes me feel like Angeloni had a little bit of pit damage himself as well. And as we look further down, Sintez actually has stayed ahead of Russell for 19th. So Sintez, yeah, just sort of spun out under braking, and a lot of drivers going for the safety car entrance and not the actual pit in. I must say that the safer pit in is before turn 3. You run on the apron and then you're already lined up for the corner. So you'd sort of make your transfer from the banking to the apron on the straightaway before turn 3. A lot of people taking turn 4 and then taking the safety car entrance, and that's what caused that incident there with Sintez. That I don't think that distinction was made before the race, whether what you can or can't do on pit entry, but the safer entry is turn 3 before turn 3. The faster entry is safety car entry, and that's the price they pay.
The last lap here behind the safety car before we go back green again. Carlos Fernandez in a familiar position. As I said, every lap so far, just nice and chill here, with a nice cool head in that Atlantic driver up until now. Of course, you've still got James Johnson behind, and Curtis Kenyon, who's a relatively unknown factor at the front of this pack so far, so he could play into the event as well. Pull down to the start. Of course, once the safety car peels in at the end of the lap, the control of the field does fall to Carlos Fernandez in that number 21 car. It's up to him when to go or not. Starting in first gear around here, very easy to loop it if you aren't careful. Of course, lots of power in these things. You need power to have a car that goes over 370 kilometers an hour. So the restart isn't as simple as jamming the throttle and go, but we'll see what Carlos can do.
Yeah, and Carlos was in 6th up until the safety car peeled in. He now goes all the way back down to 1st to get the acceleration. Johnson right behind him, he's ready, and they're live. Fernandez goes through. Johnson had a little bit of a better start, it seemed like. Of course, he's coming right off the draft, so Johnson will follow through T1. All over the back of Fernandez, taking a look at the inside. He's ready. Johnson is ready to take the lead of this race. Kenyon tucked in behind as well. He's not far back, so all 3 of these guys are going to go line astern. Fernandez takes a defensive line. Kenyon weaves a little bit as he followed Johnson. Milan actually got the best run of all of them out of turn 2. Johnson now remains second, not close enough. No one close enough to make a move, except further back. Burke has gotten through Guardia a little bit further back. Carlos Fernandez continues to lead. Those restarts are so tricky for the leader because he does not have any draft.
Shane Burke, who was a lap down, not many laps ago, now up to 7th position, but Carlos Fernandez still defending from James Johnson. You don't have to do so much right now. Seems to have a good line through here, Carlos, but of course that draft really aiding Johnson there. He goes a bit wide there through 1, now through 2. Nice low line by both drivers, and Johnson will then tuck in behind that number 21 car to go back down the back straight. Curtis Kenyon falling off a little bit, but both the ACO cars quite close as Nico Bartley goes up the inside for 4th position, goes to the lower line. Will he make it stick? Goes low here, goes past Borja Milan, who I'm suspecting to fight him too hard on the way past. So that is his teammate after all, and James Johnson again comes back onto the back of Carlos Fernandez.
Very nice move between teammates. Neither of them losing much time there, but Barkley was the faster car, and now McDonald is actually taking a run at Milan as well. So Milan will move back down to fourth. Well, they touch actually. McDonald and Milan had a little bit of contact. Milan into the wall, but A-OK as Shane Burke almost runs in the back of Milan as well. So a little bit awkward. McDonald and Milan not as smooth as Barkley and Milan. And with that, Burke had to slow way up, and Jake Hall and Florian Coates are looking at him as well. So Jake Hall will go through on Burke, and Coates to the inside. Coates, of course, the leader of the lap 25 pit stop strategy. And Guardia looking all over the back as well. So these guys around 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they are all tucked together. Coates to the inside of Burke. Sorry, Hall does not make the move stick.
This goes to show that what a lack of momentum can do to you. Shane Burke goes from 7th to 9th very quickly there as Jake Hall and Coates both get through there. Jake Hall having another bad run so far, but Sam McDonald arguably the winner of that. He's up to 5th position now, but a bit of a gap now between 4th and 5th as Nico Bartley locks into the back of Curtis Kenyon going down the back straight. Johnson and Fernandez, a little bit of a gap there as a car slow inside it. I think that might be Darryl Russell. We'll get an eye on that in a second, but Curtis Kenyon a little bit loose out of 3 there. Country 4, and right up behind Curtis Kenyon now is Nico Bartley. Then dive into 16th. Curtis Kenyon into the grass, into the pit lane though. This might not be a caution. We'll see. He's actually at the exit of the sort of pit entry right now. Curtis Kenyon, don't back onto the track, Curtis.
Yeah.
Trying to get it turned around.
I don't think it'll be a caution if he can just get recovered and get in the lane, but Curtis Kenyon a little bit too aggressive on the inside line. Nico Barkley's move up in the 3rd was pressuring him and hounding him through a couple of turns there. Kenyon will get in the lane. We are not going to have a caution, so good recovery. Maybe a little bit too far back on the reversing onto the driving line, but that's okay. Curtis Kenyon into the lane, and we're through. Now with that, Coates, Hall, and now Wuda all over the back of Coates. So this is 7th and 8th overall. The battle continues between these guys.
Again, of course, bear in mind, as Troy has said, that both Coates and Van der Woede have both taken fuel and tyres, so they have a pit stop in hand here, which might be a green flag pit stop coming up for the guys up front. We have been under the safety car for quite a while now, so I imagine we'll see the green flag pit stop guys pitting probably around lap 40, lap 45, around in that sort of area, that sort of window there. But we'll keep an eye on that. Jake Hall is now ahead of these guys. He's in 6th place. He's Coates and Van der Woede closing quickly though, and Van der Woede looking nice and happy in those new tyres. We saw him be a little bit apprehensive after the get-go last time. Lost a couple of places, went back down to 4th place and pitted. But now back up to 8th place and challenging Coates for 7th.
Absolutely. So those guys are going to be one to watch because of the differing strategy. They're only 8 seconds off the leaders. And speaking of which, James Johnson has caught massively to Fernandez, using the draft to his advantage. Got a better run out of 3 a lap ago, and now we're a lap later. That's how long it takes to have the draft effect. And James Johnson is looking at Fernandez for the lead of this race. 3/10 in it. It's an eye blink between it. Probably an eye blink is faster than that, but nevertheless, very small gap between these guys, and Johnson, the only one with the draft. And if no cautions are in sight, this is a legitimate Indy at Indy battle in the draft. Johnson looking at Fernandez, following down to turn 1. This is going to be where you need to make it stick. Tight entry in turn 1, and he does. Fernandez not as tight. Johnson going to carry a little more momentum. He runs out wider as well. So this is a better line, and Johnson a little bit understeer through turn 2 is not going to give him the advantage he wanted coming out of turn 2, so Fernandez has a break for a straightaway.
Johnson, of course, does have the luxury of being able to save a little bit of fuel here behind Carlos Fernandez. You see the car's getting a little bit upset actually through these fast corners. Maybe the setup race was a bit more aggressive than they should be. But now you're going to see just how much Johnson closes here using that slipstream. A little bit slower over the corners here. I think that Carlos Fernandez car is just a little bit better hooked up around here than James Johnson's car, but Johnson doing a good job to stay with him, and they're both pulling away from Nico Barkley behind.
And tire wear playing a factor here too. Again, Fernandez, the only one who's never run in the draft. He's never run in the draft. He's never had the aero drag through the corners. He's never had the dirty air. So Johnson, one of the people who has had dirty air the entire race. You can see his tire leaving skid marks through the corners. His front right tire is getting worn. It's getting worn fast. Fernandez has the best tires of the field, I would imagine. He's driven a controlled race. As we look down a little further back, Bora Milan and Sam McDonald are actually the same distance as our top 2. Nico Barkley is an isolated 3rd, but Sam McDonald is not safe from Milan at all.
Van der Rude also got past Coates, who's up to 7th place and now trying to find his way up in the back of Jake Hall, who has a 6th screen of Borja Milan in front, and this is where the passes come, as Borja also comes up just a little bit of lap traffic. Sam McDonald, in front, who's also he's running in 4th place, quite a way behind our top 3 at the moment. It's a big gap now as the guys in front are running a bit of a better race setup at this point. Borja Milan deep in the toe now of Sam McDonald. He's going to get a nice toe up to T3, going to have to then wait coming through T3, trying to get that dirty air as Jake Hall uses the opportunity to close into the back of Borja Milan. Coming up before now, just seeing that. Look at that big wash there for Jake Hall going through T4. Just can't quite keep the front of the car pointing where he wants it to, and that is the effect of the slipstream around here.
Milan is definitely in the best spot here. He's looking good in the draft of McDonald as we have a car off in, I'm sorry, that's Guardia with an overheating engine, probably from a pit stop. You need to turn the engine off during those pit stops because the car will overheat very quickly if it's not moving. Milan in a good spot here behind McDonald, not able to close up the gap, but Jake Hall not really able to close up on Milan either. So they're just sort of stabilized, all running in the draft, all running in dirty air. And,
give it a couple more laps though, Troy. Give it a couple more laps, and we're going to start seeing some green flag pit stops, I think, if we manage to green for that long. And that's when we're going to see people like Van der Rude and Coates come to the front of the field.
Absolutely, and that's just such a strategy call that they have made. Imagine if we had this caution right now, Fernandez, as Jake Hall goes to the inside of Milan. He had a great exit out of turn 4. Not able to do it though, and we'll get offline through turn 1. Milan and Hall fighting for P5 tooth and nail. Hall is not content with just sitting. Hall is ready to take that spot.
It's giving Mr. McDonald a little bit of a breather now in front, as we'll keep an eye on the green flat stops from here. Jake Hall again still deep in that slipstream. Borja Milan having to get off the throttle a bit, coming through 3, having to deal with that dirty air. This is where you have to try and time your run perfectly. You have to try and get on the back of the car in front, coming on off of the exit of the corner and not so much into the entry, but that's when issues happen. But we'll keep an eye on the front. We still have Fernandez leading from Johnson at the moment, putting in some good times. Fernandez has been consistent, 39.9 from him, although Johnson showing a quicker lap every now and then, so that's their best lap. Apologies. So actually going 3 tenths a lap faster than James Johnson at this point. So Fernandez is very comfortable in that car right now and still managing to put in sub 40 times without a draft.
Fernandez is just a man on a mission right now. With this Hall and Milan battle, Rude has actually caught up with Coates right behind. So Rude might be in prime spot to enter this battle, and he is. The battle for 5th includes our runner of the lap 25 strategy, as Rude actually tags the wall on the exit to turn 4. So that's going to give him a little bit of a knock, and that's not ideal for him. He was making great time, but obviously caught a little bit of understeer through turn 4 as Jake Hall catches understeer through turn 1.
We have to try and watch out with that, of course. Fuda is on a bit of a charge right now. He is our leader of our alternate strategy right now. And he's going to be the one to watch coming to lap 41 of the race. Will be lap 42 this time around as Carlos Fernandez comes to take the 42 at that marker. And we're starting to near a quarter of this race done. Our longest green flag stint as of yet. At the moment, the fight to watch out for is between 5th and 6th place between Borja Milan and Jake Hall, with Van der Rude coming to make it a three-way battle for 5th.
They've stayed pretty much equal. I think the move we're going to see here is Rude on Hall. Hall is grabbing a little bit of understeer through 1 and 3. 1 and 3 is given understeer for Hall. Rude a little bit wide on turn 2, as I say that. You can't run low lines the entire race, it must be said. It does put a little bit more strain on the tires, and it puts you at risk for catching the apron as well, which you definitely do not want to do. So Hall running a low line turn 3 and not able to make up the speed. Milan's actually done really well here because Hall will be getting, and Hall pits. So first of our green flag pit stop, Jake Hall from 6th pits under green.
And that is going to be indicative of what happens next, so we'll keep an eye on our guys in front. Won't be surprised if we see Fernandez and Johnson, Barkley, McDonald and Milan in very quickly, which will give Alex Van der Rude the lead as he come up to the back of a slower car. Just looking at Carlos Fernandez now, I think that's a DR Motorsports car. Will Fernandez come into the pits? Yes, no he doesn't. He steps in the with the DR Motorsport car, goes around another lap. Can Johnson do the same thing? Yes he can.
Barkley stays out in 3rd, so we do have green flag running continuing for the guys at the top. So Jake Hall the first to do. Now we saw Fernandez doing fuel saving strategy behind the safety car and stuff like that. So they were ready for this. They were kind of counting to make this stint as long as possible.
Contact on the straight. Angeloni gets tagged there. Yellow flag. I'm not sure who that was he got caught up with. I just saw it at the corner of my eye. I think that might have been a lap car. It was Tonga Guardia there. Lap traffic on the straight. Let's see if I can get another look and see what happened there. Yes, they're just coming around to T4 and then Tonga Guardia. I don't know what he does. He just, I think Angeloni goes into the back of him, knocks him to the left, hits more on the inside, comes back across the circuit and tags Angeloni and catches, I think that's Shane Burke as well in the mix as well. So another caution. They nearly made it to a quarter of the race, but another caution. That I think was our 4th caution of the race so far, and that is absolutely perfect for Carlos Fernandez.
Yes, this will be the time to see some of those guys hit the lane. The caution came out after they had passed the start-finish. They didn't really know what was going on yet, but now they do. Now they do. And yeah, sort of an unfortunate incident with Angeloni. But yeah, sort of run into the back of a lap car. It's at high speed. Angeloni actually, the damaged one, got caught behind the safety car. So Angeloni can't even get to the pits quickly to recover from that. So he might go a lap down depending on how long it... Actually, you know what? Front wing repair is very quick in the pits. I think it just sort of doubles the pit stop time, which is very short to begin with. So I don't think front wing alone is that big of a deal. If he goes for any suspension components, that will be a little bit longer. And now we see Fernandez has caught up to the back of Angeloni. So Fernandez, we'll see what he does as well. Right on the back of the safety car, and the safety car is going through turn 4. And these guys are sort of isolated. 1, 2, and 3 are the only ones behind the safety car, along with Angeloni. So a lot of people have some ground to make up, starting with Sam McDonald, who's running off the pace. He's not going quick, and Fernandez is going into the lane. So we have green flag pit stops from these guys, lap 45.
So there you go, they're taking the advantage there of the pit stop, as looks like Angeloni just really in front of those guys, and that may give the lead to Van der Woede, although he's going slowly himself right now. Not quite sure why he's waiting so far. I mean, this could be the difference between him taking the lead and these guys coming through. They're still rolling on pit lane yet to stop as they come in with Fernandez, James Johnson and Nico Barkley, both coming to the pits, all coming to the pits at the same time, and that has negated the lead that Fernandez gained there. Going for the corner. Let's see where Van der Woede is, shall we? Sam McDonald's coming rolling.
Woede pit.
So
Woede went into the pit as well. But Coates did not. So Florian Coates has just taken the lead of this race, having stopped on lap 25. Does not need the stop here. Will need the stop in about 20 laps. But Coates has taken the lead. Woede decides it was long enough from that strategy, but that's essentially killed all the advantage of being on a different strategy. So Woede, I don't fully agree with that call from Woede, but maybe he thought it was time.
We'll have to wait and see what he has in mind, but of course that then puts Coates at the front of his pack for now. On track position, you can argue is worth a lot because Fernandez, Johnson and Barkley are going to have to come back through. Saying that, looks like where is Fernandez now on track? Not too far back, so we'll keep an eye on that.
So Fernandez had a basically best case scenario. Comes out in 5th despite having stopped Barclay in 6th. Roner benefited as well, getting up into 2nd. I'm not sure if Roner was one of the ones that stopped on lap 25. He must have been, because it would have been out of fuel by now. So Florian Coates, our new leader. Darrell Russell still the one actually leading the physical pack behind the safety car, but Russell is a few laps down, having stopped several times for damage, so he might just get the way by and let our leader have the line behind the safety car. So we'll see what happens with Russell in terms of safety car position. It does play a factor. It really does, because Coates obviously is going to want to be leading this. He is leading the field, and he's going to want a clean track going into turn 1 when the safety car peels off. So we'll see what happens. Vacolti is our legitimate 2nd position. As actually we see Angeloni, I believe, exit the lane. It is Angeloni exiting the lane, so he's a lap down, but he will make that up, seeing as he got out ahead of the safety car. So actually a big moment for Angeloni there, getting out ahead of the safety car while the safety car was coming through turn 2, which of course is where the pit exit is. So Angeloni is not going to stay a lap down. He will get back onto lap 46. So this is looking like it is going to be our green flag running order when we go live. Florian Coates leads, Roner 2nd, Vakulski 3rd, Carlos Fernandez 4th. So pretty much best case for Fernandez running green flag, no pit stops, even under caution to this point. Caution comes out right as they were looking at doing a green flag stop, and it was just a no-brainer. Safety car is going to peel into the lane. Coates is going to lead. Darrell Russell did not have to get the wave by, so Darrell Russell is actually the first car on track, and he's technically the one setting the pace. It is green now. Coates to the inside. Roner to the outside of Coates. Coates and Roner are going to go side by side into T1. Roner on the outside, not able to do it. Vekulski and Fernandez come in behind as well. We have some lap cars mixed into this as well. Roner and Coates for the lead of this race. Roner all over the back of Coates and goes to the inside. Roner takes P1 on track, has plenty of momentum gain over Coates. Coates going to have to sit in second. Roner will take the full line into third. Fernandez in fourth on track. We have a lap car in the middle, so that's what you're seeing there. Vekulski not far back in third, but Roner takes it on track. Roner into P1. Fernandez a little bit back. He will get by Jake Hall, which is our lap car, so Fernandez will join Vekulski in third. So Roner taking the lead off the restart. Coates in second. Down to second. Vekulski stayed third after the restart. Fernandez up to fourth. Lap traffic has been cleared after the safety car, so Fernandez in just a legitimate fourth, looking at Vekulski for third.
A good run there from Fernandez, making the pit stop at the right time. You can see there with Coates, of course, being the driver who was our leader of the alternate pit stop. That is the difference on track now. That gap on track is the difference in the strategies. Vekulski is a little bit out of position here, I think, running a little bit slower than the guys around him. I don't think it'll be too long before Fernandez disposes of him, goes down to the inside here. P1 Menzi moved nice and early up the inside now, and that will be Fernandez back up into first. But Vekulski deep into the section, almost getting a bit too wide there as the car behind. That was Johnson there, who almost ran into the wall there as well. So all hotting up now, but Fernandez now onto the back of Coates.
Vekulski's sticking in behind Fernandez, but I'm sure Fernandez just give him a few laps and he will be on the back of Coates. So Roner, and so what we can... Oh, it's Coates hits the wall. Coates hit the 3-4 wall. The intersecting wall between 3 and 4. Fernandez is going to have much more momentum coming out of the corner, obviously, because of that. So Coates, the leader of that alternate strategy that stuck with it, is going to hit the wall in turn 3. Fernandez into second, legitimate position. Coates are going to lose a spot to Vekulski as well, and Johnson's looking at the inside as well. So Coates actually dropping back here, potentially damaged. Hopefully doesn't need to take the stop because of damage, but definitely knocked the suspension on that one. That was a hard hit. Roner in front by 2 seconds. And we look at James Johnson goes to the inside of Vekulski for third.
Starting up here as Johnson there. Oh, contact behind. That was, who was that in the wall there? That was Coates there again in the wall. I think he has some sort of damage. He hit the wall quite hard there, got out of shape. Luckily he's still okay. I think the car seems to be going straight enough, it seems, but he's lost a couple of positions now. Now under attack from Nico Bartley. He's taken position away, and Borja Milan, who's also there in the background, to the outside, not quite going to have to run there on Coates, but Coates going from bad to worse for him.
And we have that lap car. Jake Hall right in front of Coates right now is actually a lap car, so Nico Barkley wove in between Coates and Hall. Only one of those was for a track position. As dropped my pen onto my desk. Borja Milan all over the back of Coates as well, so Coates does seem damaged. He's not fast in the straight. He's definitely underpowered at the moment, potentially aero damage as Milan goes through. Coates nearly avoids, but sticks it tucked in the lane. Does not change position mid-corner, so good on Coates with a damaged car, keeping it out of Milan. And stays out. Sam McDonald's going to go through. This is all legitimate positions. Coates might be thinking about a stop at this point because McDonald's gone through as well, and he was not close on the back, so he's made up a lot of space, has McDonald on Coates.
There's some Coates, of course, maybe trying now to limit damage at this point as he goes further back now, under attack now from Stephen Miller. As car goes to extreme inside there. Who was that in the background? That was... I think that's actually a lap car getting out of the way, apologies. But at the front of the field, looks like Van der Wood is now having a go. Vekulski up into fourth place now, so all the guys at the start of the race who were at the top are now there, aside from Roner, who's been leading this thing for the last couple of laps led for Roner and that Marlboro livery there. And
P4, Nico Barkley, gonna go for 2. No, goes too wide behind Woody. Not able to do it on Boris Vekulski, and he does back off, but Woody got a nice move on Vekulski coming in turn 3. Vekulski over the back of him going in through turn 4. That slow momentum gave Nico Barkley a huge slingshot to pitch the draft, and almost went 3 wide with him into T1. Barkley now to the inside of Vekulski. Side by side as they go down. Vekulski's got the complete line as he had the draft from Woody as Barkley went to the inside to overtake him. Vekulski gets a great draft through him. Side by side with Woody now. Barkley just spectator at this point, but he will have the cleanest run and the draft. Woody caught out wide from the inside, and Woody will lose the spot as well. Woody not No draft and a wider line, not able to get the speed coming out of the corner, but Woody the one with the draft right now. Barkley not able to have the straight line speed because Woody had the draft from Bekolski. Woody around the outside will maintain from Nico Barkley. I think he did tap the wall there, though, as well, so Barkley will have to settle for 6th for the moment.
Tonga Guardia on track right now without a rear wing. He's coming up, he's just coming through T2 it seems here, so he's on the track now with no rear wing. I hope he realises he's now coming back up to speed. He's doing 300 Ks now. He isn't going to stop this corner if he isn't careful. He'll turn in now. I think he's going to see him spin. There you go, as I said, spin into the wall at T3. That's going to be a caution, I imagine. But no, he's still rolling, actually. He's still rolling just very slowly. Tonga, don't know what you're doing out there, mate, but get it to the bottom line. Get it out of everyone's way. Don't cause another caution. He's finally realised now he's damaged, I think, after hitting the wall twice. And Tonga into the pits.
456 has stabilized. It was looking pretty interesting there for a moment, but it has stabilized. Nico Barkley's dropped off a bit now, and actually Van Wuda is the one who's looking at the back of Akolski for 4th. We have a gap, but 3, James Johnson is pretty much isolated in 3rd. Fernandez, though, is slowly catching Roner, and it won't be long before Fernandez is on the back of Roner, but for the moment, it looks like Bekolski and Woody are a little bit closer.
Roner finds himself in quite a nice position here, of course, a little bit out of position with the pit stop. He's got a good strategy call so far, and he's currently leading the race. He will have laps led to his name, which you can say, not many people can say they've had laps led at Indianapolis, but James Johnson as well, as you said, trying to close that gap between 2 and 3 with Holski now a little bit of a gap to Van der Wude, but Nico Bartley is he's got a car in between himself and his teammate Borja Milans. That is a lap car, so that is not for position there. Sam on 8th, Stephen Miller 9th, and Jose Casanovas with his early damage back up into 10th position, so one to watch.
Yeah, pretty much from 4th to 9th. That's a long train of 5-6 cars. They are all similarly gapped. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bekolski, Wuda, Barclay, Milan, McDonald, Miller even on the back of it. Casanova's a couple seconds behind. But for the upper midfield here, it is all same lap, same corner almost. This is just a long train of cars, and it's just going to take a slip up from one of them in one corner to create a battle for a position. They are all just in the draft, stabilized for the moment.
People just trying to find their way through at the moment, it seems. Holski there still defending from Van der Wude. I'll give you an idea of what it's like to ride on board with Van der Wude currently sitting behind the Holski, and this is what he sees. Right, blue car in front and going through T1 now. This is what you want to try and think about where you're placing the car and relative to the car in front. Of course, the Holski taking a bit of a higher line there through T1, not quite as low as Van der Wude is. Van der Wude then enjoying a little bit of a break from the dirty air, and now we're jumping to 6th. We've got a better exit through T2 there than for Hosky in front. It's going to allow Van der Wude to close up a little bit, but now he's going to get right deep into that dirty air again. Slow car on the inside. I think it's a DR Motorsport car. This could come into play as well. So a slow car up ahead. What's that traffic going to do around here? The Hosky's being forced to go wide there into the wall. Just got managed to get past, but that DR Motorsport car is definitely holding up the cars in front.
They get through okay, but Wuda's gone out better. Bekolski had to go wide. He did have to lift a little bit, so Wuda is right on the back of him. This is for 4th overall as we run lap 60 out of 200. Wuda still behind Bekolski now. Barclay's dropped back a little bit, but McDonald, Milan, they're poised for a fight as well. As we say that at the front, Carlos Fernandez has dropped back on Roner. He was catching Roner at a pretty decent rate. We were about to probably switch to him to talk about the battle for the lead, but Fernandez has dropped back, and I wonder if maybe lap traffic or just caught a little bit of understeer through one of the turns was enough. It really doesn't take much if you catch understeer through one turn and lose the draft. That is going to be a second gap almost instantaneously, especially if you do that coming out of turn 2 or turn 4 as you're looking at it straight away. But Bekolski is going to lead Van der Wude through T1. It looked close for a second, but he's stabilized. Wude trying to keep in the draft.
At this point, looking at the front of the field, but Roner is actually lapping at the same sort of lap times as Carlos Fernandez, both of them going faster than James Johnson at the moment. I wonder how much. I wonder when Roner last pitted there. I didn't catch him coming to the pit side with a large caution. Maybe running a little bit lighter than Fernandez behind at this point. But Fernandez doing a good job to sort of stay with him. That lap was a little bit faster for Fernandez, 4 thousandths faster over the line, but a bit of switching coming into that as we still continue to watch Alexander Van der Wude. And now he's got to worry about Nico Barkley behind him because he's lost a little bit of momentum actually to Vaholski in front, and that's allowed Barkley to get back up behind in a 1 ACO car.
As we say that, Coates is actually retired. Not sure why. It's listed as just a straight DNF, so no damage or fuel issues that rFactor 2 reported at least. But Coates has retired, unfortunately. He was on the lead lap. Wude keeping... Yeah, he did lose a little bit of speed to Vekolski, so he did drop back a little bit. And I do believe Roner was one of the he wasn't a lap 45 stopper, he was a lap 25 stopper, I believe. So Roner really must be looking at a stop here because he did not stop the last time around when the caution came out at lap 45. So Roner he can't be that far away from a pit stop.
Bartley with an idea again. Now he's now the one chasing. The watch his wheel, you see it just pulled to the right there. His car set up just to go left. You see the tyres all pointing to go left. You see a little bit of wear on the front of the car there, right up behind Van der Voorde now. And as they also thought, so Van der Voorde was very wide there, almost touches the wall there, coming out of T3. That's going to allow Bartley to get nice and close, but now he's in the wash. But a good exit there through T4, and now he's going to be right deep in the slipstream of Van der Voorde as they go past down the straight. There you go, past. Nice and go side by side now. They're going down the straight. Bartley to the inside.
Wude gives him the room. Well done. Barkley catching up. Wude does seem to be dropping a little bit of pace. Vekolski's gotten a good gap through all of this. Barkley kept a solid pace, basically. Wude, when he slowed up, it just let him get further and further back into the clutches of Barkley, who ultimately got the draft and a nice clean move into 2-1.
And Wude then back to 6th position, but I'm sure he's fine to be there just now. Vekolski, though, doing a good job. Oh, Verholzig contact with one of the cars in front, just about manages to keep it. Who was that? One of the lap cars.
That was Kenyon.
That was Kenyon. So Kenyon
and Barkley goes through. Barkley through Vekolski and the lap traffic. Vekolski is going to be back into 5th and caught behind Guardia. The lap traffic. Barkley just benefited massively, and Vekolski and Guardia actually have a little bit of a collision as well. So Vekolski not having a good time going through traffic right now, and Van der Voorde all over the back of Vekolski, and this might be a move. Maybe not into turn 3, but probably into turn 1.
So Verholzig there is a big loser of that situation, but Nico Barkley won't be moaning at that. He's now up into 4th position, and we have Van der Voorde just on the back now of Verholzig. So Rona into the pits there from the lead. Green flag pit stop. I think it'll be the first proper green flag pit stop we've seen from any of the leaders so far. So he's going to lose a bunch of time now. And there's a green flag. Sorry, of course, yellow flag even. There's a big crash at pit lane there. I think that might have been Kenyon again. It was Curtis Kenyon. Let's have a look what happened there. Coming through T4. It's like the driver runs into the back of him there. One of the Vedas cars. And Curtis Kenyon into the wall hard there. Who was the Vedas car that was involved in that crash with him? I'm not sure who it was actually. I'm not quite seeing who it is on my screen there. But there was a car involved as well. I think that might have been... Sorry, can't bring you that is right now. I have no idea who that was who hit him, but 2-car incident there.
So as the safety car field runs up, I will try and find who that was. It was Sam McDonald. Sam McDonald caught him coming out of turn 4. Kenyon was sort of slowing down. This is what I was talking about with the safe pit entry. It's really annoying that this isn't a requirement. You should be pitting on turn 3. Kenyon was trying to go into the lane. McDonald was trying to pass him. So they're both running on the low apron. Kenyon is trying to take the low line so we can keep to the inside. McDonald was still racing. They're both on the same bit of track. So Kenyon was starting to slow up McDonald right behind him and just caught him. I think it should have been a requirement that we pit at before turn 3. That pit entry should be the one we were using.
Yeah,
safety.
I'd agree with that one there, but that's how it is, unfortunately. And the car still stopped on the circuit there. Curtis Kenyon just still sitting at pit entry at the moment. He's not moving. I can't see any sign of movement in the cockpit there either. So I'm wondering if he's just Gardner wheel moves there. So I think he's still back in his seat, but he needs to either get off there. He's stalled the car, I think, so that's his race over. But he needs to get out of the car now.
Yeah, the car's stalled or it's off. He just either needs to might be looking for. Wait, what was my starter motor mapped to? Like, it's not very often you need that button, but sometimes do. And he has retired. Curtis Kenyon can't get it started again, so he will just drop to the pits and leave the server.
Yeah, I'm unsure as to what happened there with Kenyon after that, but Carlos Fernandez taking the time to come to the pit lane, as does James Johnson. Nico Bartley decides to stay out though, with Baholski coming into the pits as well, as does Van der Woode. Borja Milan in the pit, Stephen Miller as well. Casanovas goes in, although Rodriguez and Rona of course, who recently made his stop, is going to move back up to head of the field.
Roner actually, so it looked like it's, I just pitted a little bit too early, just one more lap I would have had a caution, but because of that, Roner is going to get back up to 4th. He's fresh on tires. He's the freshest now leader of everyone, including Fernandez. Fernandez is going to come up behind Roner, and they'll be on the same pit stops. Now, Roner is actually weaving through the field. He's the mark. Roner is the mark, for some reason, to be the one immediately following the safety car. So Roner has taken that position, and Roner, first overall, stopped a lap ago. The likes of Fernandez are back in 5th. So Roner has just had the most amazing string of luck with pitting, then having a safety car come out and getting the best track position around because of where the safety car came out.
Safety car came out. Sense, does it?
Well, yeah, and the thing is, the safety car came out behind him, so he got to do a full lap. He did not get stuck behind the safety car, so he got to do a full lap, take all these positions back, and then was the one that was given the cue to queue up right behind the safety car. So he's taken that position, and he is leading.
So after what will be 70 laps, as he passes the pit later, the start-finish line this time, only 15 cars remaining in this race as Rodriguez now comes into the pits, as does Fernandez again. So Fernandez maybe had a penalty there of some sort, maybe he was speeding in the pit lane, but Fernandez comes back into the pits there.
Oh man, that would be so disappointing. Fernandez, this has just thrown the race completely out the water. Our leader, pretty much nearly since, uninterrupted since the green. It does look like he's doing a drive-through. He is doing a drive-through. Fernandez might have been speeding in the lane. Oh no, he is going towards his pit box, and he will stop.
Maybe something there not quite right. If the first pit stopper comes in again and loses a heap of time out of the cars in front, he's going to go right back to the end of the train now. And Roner and Barkley, the real winners here, now first and second, with James Johnson third and Van der Woode in 4th place. Again, the similar story of the guys at the top of the field sort of staying the same as for now, but this is the last lap of the safety car, and Fernandez is going to have to do his best to catch back up again. He's back out the pits now, so he's not going to be too far behind at this point. Up into he's still in 9th position though as Fernandez, so he hasn't lost too much time, but he does have to go through his teammate, funnily enough, Casanovas, who is now in 8th.
And that's the significance of what just happened. He had 2 stops under caution. 2 stops under caution. He's back where Casanovas was, who had the damage, remember, and had to stop under caution. So that's a huge, huge penalty to Fernandez. For whatever reason, needing a second pit stop, Roner is going to be the one to lead our field. Legitimate position. Our race leader since the green, Fernandez, is now back in 9th, and that's legitimate track position. Everyone's on the same page. That is legitimate position he's going to have to make up as the safety car pulls in. Roner's looking at a clean track.
And then Roner then on the front of the field. His turn to finally pull away from the start. And away we go then. Roner controls the green, and away we go then. Back green here for lap 71, coming onto it now at Indianapolis. With Nico Bartley looking feisty, as is James Johnson right onto the back of Barkley straight away there. The second to 5th place are very close together at this point here. See Van der Woode in the middle of that, with Baholski right at the back, and coming into the back of them is Borja Milan as well. Borja Milan looks to the inside here, maybe to take a run there. He's going to be outside the 6th screen. No toe there for you there, Borja, as Van der Woode takes his position and keeps in front of Baholski for now. Roner still defending from Barkley, with James Johnson right up behind, coming out of 3.
I think Johnson caught the wall. Vakulski actually caught Woode, tagged him in the back of his wing, coming out of turn 2 the last time around. So that's how Milan got that huge run. Milan is looking racy as well, as is Johnson. Johnson to the inside for 2nd overall over Nico Barkley. Will take it clean and tuck into turn 1. Barkley down to 3rd. Roner getting a big up here, 7/10 up the field. Barkley down to 3rd. Woode looking at the back of him, and Milan looking at the back of Vakulski. Milan, of course, Barkley's teammate, not pulling out of the draft. I don't believe Milan must have higher downforce than some of these other guys, because he can't pull out of the draft. As soon as he pulls out of the draft, he drops right back. So the other guys are running faster, nearly faster than he is when he has the draft. Definitely higher downforce level for for Milan. Vakulski stays and maintains that position because of it.
Interesting strategy there for Milan, but we'll keep an eye on that as that develops. Of course, as you see, he's glued to the back of the hole. So nothing to do about it. Casanova looks to the outside there of Stephen Miller, but not quite able to make it work. Still in next place. Casanova's trying to make the best after some damage early on in the race.
Fernandez pits again. Fernandez again.
That's interesting. Must be some issue there with Fernandez's car. We can't quite get you an idea of that, but that is massive. Our race leader, up until a couple of laps ago, has come into the pits a couple of times now, so maybe that is a drive-through. I'm not quite sure what's going on with him. Maybe no tyres or maybe some sort of damage that he's trying to repair.
He's in the box again. He's moving now, but yeah, none of those were drive-throughs. 3 stops in the last 5 laps. None of them were drive-throughs for penalties. They were all legitimate, and he's going to go a lap down. As you see, Fernandez exits the lane with Roner and our leaders going by. So Fernandez is going to be the one a lap down. With the way this race started, you did not think you'd be saying that, but for an unknown reason, Fernandez had needed 3 pit stops.
Interesting, and Johnson then goes to the inside there of Rona coming into free.
Johnson takes the lead of the race into T3. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Roner still on the back of him though, so it's not over, but Johnson has showed the pace off the restart, and he has kept the gap to Barkley. Maybe Roner caught up a little bit on one of the turns, and that was all Johnson needed to slingshot by.
Keep an eye on that. That's good there, move by Johnson. It's the first time he's led the race today. He's sort of been stuck behind Fernandez for the majority of it. But we have Roner now in second place. He's first time to be sitting in the slipstream for a while. And Roner's had a good move so far. Keep a bit as for now with Barkley in the background as well. And Van der Rude in fourth, those unchanged for now. And looks like Casanovas has fallen up a little bit off Stephen Miller, maybe a little bit more damage on that Atlantic car than we've seen. The Borgia Milan in sixth place still, with Holski just in the middle of the pack. All coming down a little bit now to try and find their rhythm, and Johnson starts to extend his lead at the front.
James Johnson did have a stop-go penalty assigned to him, and then it was removed by the live steward for... Not really sure what was going on there, but he had a penalty and then he didn't, removed by the live steward. So Johnson looks okay. This is all for legitimate position.
In fact, I think I just saw a move on our board there. I think that Verholski actually went past. Oh, that is a little bit of lag there, but Verholski goes past Van der Rude up into 5th position. Verholski making moves now. Van der Rude now on the 6th. He's going to go to the inside for T1, take that inside lane. Volkswagen stays on the outside though. Van der Rude coming alongside now through T1 back up into 4th position. These guys trading places corner by corner.
Vakulski not done with this yet. Vakulski follows through T2 right on the draft of Buda. Gets a little bit of understeer coming out of turn 2, and that's going to allow Milan actually to go side by side with all of these guys. Milan again on that higher downforce, not able to make any ground up, and Fernandez, who's a lap down at this point, is trying to get through and make positions up. Vakulski and Moody have a bit of a collision into turn 3. Milan to the inside, and will take Bermuda. Fernandez caught behind from the traffic, trying to sneak his way through, gets on the apron a little bit, thankfully keeps it okay, because that would have been very awkward.
Front row, James Johnson still extending his lead. Looks like Nico Barkley now starting to pull onto the back of Verona. Nico Barkley looking very quick at this point in the race, lapping about 2 tenths faster than Verona at this point. So it's just a matter of time, it seems. Just again, just dipping into that slipstream to see that wheel just bent over to the right there, just to counteract 380 kilometers an hour. I saw there for a second there on Nico Barkley's dash. So his car's absolutely flying at this point. Going through T4, and again, see that dirty air just pushing Nico a little bit wide. So be careful of that wall on the outside. So easy to run into that if you're following someone. And now back into slipstream, up into top gear, and just pulling on to the back of Rona.
Yeah, Barkley might be looking at a move here into turn 3 if he can keep it tucked through 1 and 2. A little bit wide. He's taking a wider entry and a later apex to combat the understeer. I believe that's what he's trying to do to get rid of the understeer, but it has dropped him back, so he won't have the same sort of pace that Roner does. Roner, of course, in clean air. Johnson too far ahead to affect Roner's front aerodynamics.
Don't want to be right now, don't want to be in the air. Of course, Nico Barkley's sort of struggling with that in the moment. I think Nico does have the speed to catch Roner. Seems to get into there's a nice exit there through T4. It's going to get a nice big draft down the back straight, coming over the stripe now. Now watching him struggle with dirty air going through 1. The Roner takes quite a higher line there than Barkley does, and Barkley has sort of spared the dirty air for a second, but not here through 2, has to wait on the throttle for quite a long time, and that gap opens up once again.
It does. It was looking good through T1. We'll say a little bit further back, Milan and Wuda had a bit of a collision as Wuda went by Milan for 5th, and a little bit of a front tire to rear tire contact as Wuda went by, dropped Milan back behind Miller, and now Casanovas gets by Milan as well.
Looks like there's a little bit of traffic there on the DR Motorsports car. I think that's Darrell Russell on the straight there as the leaders make their way through. Past comes Barkley, which sort of spooks Darrell Russell a little bit, but they're both through okay. Same for Holsey making his way through some lap pickup as well. We're starting to see that now. A couple of lap cars get into the mix, and only 15 cars left running at this point, so it is a sort of quite high attrition so far. And speaking of attrition, we're going to get Curtis Kenyon into the booth. Curtis earlier retirement. Curtis, we saw the incident took you out of the race. Could you talk us through what happened?
Yeah, I took some damage a little bit early in the race. Someone had come up on me in turn 4 a little bit earlier and just arrow spun me out like crazy. Saw him coming, trying to get out of the way, and it spun me, which brought out a caution. And then I managed to get it fixed, sort of, kind of down on power, and didn't have the draft, so obviously can't do anything about that. And this last one, you know, I'm trying to get out of the way, trying to stick to the bottom of the track as much as I can. And, you know, didn't see who it was, but just kind of knocked me around.
We saw you sustained heavy damage into the inside. You sort of sat there for a second, but I guess the damage was too strong for you to continue.
Yeah, well, by the time the pits were starting getting close to opening, my engine blew. So much for that.
There you go, but a shame there for you, Curtis. You're running quite strong at the start of the race. Before we let you go, any shout outs for any sponsors or team members out there on track right now, or just you today?
I'm sort of running solo, but John Nelson and Darrell Russell had some trouble early in the race too. Unfortunately, they collected themselves. So
Yeah, we saw that. It was Darrell Russell making a very interesting move into 4, but he's now at the back of the pack. So.
If for those who were on the forum, I'm the guy who was trying to stream this whole thing from my POV. Yeah, if you check the forum, it's all there. But unfortunately, I am out, and I don't know if you guys need another commentator, but I'm here if you need me.
You're free to join us. So the more the merrier at this point. We'll keep an eye on what's going on at the front of the field. So there you go, guys. We have impromptu commentator Curtis Kenyon joining us in the booth for the foreseeable future, as James Johnson's still leading the field. We had a couple of green flag pit stops, Troy. I don't know if you caught them. I saw, I think it was Stephen Miller in the pits, and Shane Burke came in as well there. So a couple of cars there, not quite fueled for the cautions, it seems.
And I think McDonald as well. So those would have been our lap 45 stoppers potentially, or maybe the ones that stopped on this later pit stop. I will say Fernandez has got by Wuda and Vekulski. It wasn't all that smooth. So Fernandez trying to make that lap back up. Still on lap 84 compared to the front runners on lap 85. He was making his way through and had contact with Vekulski in 4th, as there was a lap car and Vekulski in 4th and Fernandez in 9th. Fernandez trying to make that spot back up. So it wasn't all tidy from that, but we do have Fernandez through all those guys and trying to make that pace up. He's running very fast lap times as he was all race. And Wuda and Vekulski are the ones now really giving the show for 4th and 5th. They've been snip and tuck for the last 6 or 7 laps.
So Curtis, as a driver around here, of course, you've been dealing with the dirty air. Could you try and explain to our viewers what it's like to be caught in that dirty air through any of the corners around here? I guess he's stepped away for a second, so we'll ask him that when he comes back. But as
hey,
now,
you know it professional commentator here. It helps to unmute. Yeah, imagine your car is just stuck to the ground. You're doing 230 miles an hour into a corner. The car is stuck. Suddenly, you come up on somebody. Your front end feels like it just went through water and chalk, like this dust, and tries to slide out the front almost immediately. It's almost hard to predict. Same with the back end. If someone's coming up on you and you're in the corner and someone comes up on you a little too fast, or they just weren't anticipating you going that slow, you will feel your car start to step out and stutter. And if you don't catch it in time, and we're talking a split second, if you don't catch it in time, you're gone. It's gone. It's just happened so fast here.
Yeah, that's something that our drivers are contending with lap in, lap out. One of those people will be suffering that right now is Borja Milan. He's currently trying to get past Jose Casanovas at the moment. Casanovas a little bit damaged on the race, sort of out of contention for the top 3 positions, but he's making his way back through the field nicely, currently up into 6th position, but Borja Milan all over the back of him right now. Looking at the low line, Casanovas, contact there! Commentators curse off the wall there, both Borja Milan and Casanovas, heavy contact from both of them there. Casanovas backwards into the wall, Borja Milan still going around but without a front wing, and that is absolute disaster for the Atlantic car.
Good job by Casanovas to stay out of the racing line as he was high-sided up on the bank. But yeah, Milan was trying to go to the inside. That was all sort of a little bit awkward. Milan, of course, the one with the lower downforce, couldn't make the move on the straight. I'm sorry, with the higher downforce, couldn't make the move on the straight. Was going to the inside in the corner. Casanovas with the understeer out wide. Don't think it was intentional for him to go that wide. And because of that, Nico Barkley hits the lane from 2nd or 3rd.
It's a good time for Barkley to come to the pits now. I say it would be a good time for him to come to the pits. So his teammate is going to be in as well in a second, so get a nice advantage of that early pit stop, and I'm sure we'll see others come in as well as Johnson forms up behind safety car, as does Rona, Vaholski coming through in 3rd. Another opportunity for lapped cars to get back through again. There could be more cars out of this race. We're only 15 cars running as it is. Good chance. Shane Burke actually in the pits as well. I think he's retired. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, but so 14 cars running. 89 laps in.
And Fernandez is going to be the one that he does not want to stop at this point because he wants to get those positions back. Hopefully the people around him and everyone in front of him, the top 8, he's going to be hoping are going to take their stops. Fernandez is going to want to stay out at this point. He did have 3 stops right off the last caution. So as I say that, Roner hits the lane, and that's what he wants to see. Vakolsky hits the lane, so Fernandez is going to get onto the same lap as these guys.
So it's good news for Fernandez, obviously having these issues with pit stops before. A lot of our front runners in. We have Vaholski in, we have Vandal Wilder, I think I'm being told it's been said in chat. Borja Milan in as well, and Sebastian Rodriguez, as well as Jose Casanovas, obviously in there with quite heavy damage. Carlos Fernandez is in 9th place, but will get the wave around, so that'll see him back onto the end of the field. So hotting up again for Fernandez.
Yeah, he's going to have his opportunity coming here as the other guys exit the lane. They are going to be exiting the lane behind these guys, so we'll see where the prompts come up. Where did the prompts come up for the top 6 or 7 that came? It's the low speed display, the LSD that comes up and says what car you're supposed to be behind. Fernandez says Angelone, so he's where he should be. See Nico Barkley, Tobias Roner says Stephen Miller. So Roner, the first of the ones who pitted, is told to stay behind Miller. He is not given a wave around, so that means Fernandez will indeed get those positions back. I'm sorry, not the positions back, but the lap back. And that's the key. So now instead of being more than a lap down to all of them, he's going to be on the same lap, almost a lap down, if that makes sense. But it's a better position.
Yes, for now. And of course, being lapped down is the lesson. But then again, saying that, I think he's coming to the pits himself here. So interesting move there. But he will, of course, be able to pull up to the back of the circuit. But I guess taking the advantage as well to come in and get the fresh tyres and some more fuel in that tank.
Yeah, and Jake Hall and McDonald are going to come as well. So essentially the lead lap cars get the first round of pit stops, and then the second lap by all the lap cars, the non-lead lap cars, get their pit stop opportunity. So Fernandez took that opportunity. So everything I just said about 80 seconds ago, just forget all that.
So the strategist from Fernandez pit wall not quite catching on to what's going on, but he's back out to be the last lap on the safety car as well before we go back green here at Indianapolis.
So we're going to have Johnson leading the way, Barkley behind Roner, Vakolsky, Rodriguez. So Johnson and Barkley are the 2 that did not stop. So we're lap 90 pit stops where most of the front runners stopped. Johnson and Barkley did not, and they will be leading the field.
Jake Hall coming out of the pits as well as Sam McDonald. Leading the field right now, though, is James Johnson from Nico Barkley. Not sure if Borja Milan does seem to still be in this race after that incident there. They've got a new front wing on there, and Barkley out nice and quickly there. So a good turnaround for the 1 ACO, not hardly even losing any places there. So very lucky there for the Borgia Milan car.
Absolutely. So we see Johnson, Barkley, Roner, they're all gearing up for the stop. I believe the safety car will be peeling off, and it does. So Johnson has a clean track ahead of him. He will get the prompt, set the pace, and it will be up to him to lead us into the green. We have some lap cars in between us. So Roner is P3 on track, but Miller is in front of him, and we are green now as Barkley goes to the inside of Angeloni, who is a lap car. Roner and Russell. So Russell's a lap car as well. So Roner in P3 has to go through 2 cars to get to the back of Barkley. Roner goes around Russell and looking at the back of Angeloni.
Very difficult in the restart there. Roner going to get past Angeloni nice and quickly there, trying to get through on the inside. Goes to the outside there, nice in between those two. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Johnson defending from Nico Barkley, who goes to the inside there, goes to the bottom line. This will be Barkley through into P1 if he keeps it nice and tight. He does there. Johnson has to concede, pulls him back behind Barkley, and a change for lead already.
So these are the two that didn't stop. Johnson and Barkley go for it off the restart into turn 3. Johnson maintains second position in the right tuck together. Roner's dropped back because, again, he started behind 2 lap cars. So that's sort of split 2 and 3. Wuda goes through Vekolski on the front straight into T1. Johnson following into T2.
Barkley has got a bit of a chance to stretch his legs now. No dirty air, but of course he is going to be under attack down the straight there as Roner now passed all the lap cars and now homing on to the back of Johnson. We've seen Roner be fast before on his own in traffic, so let's see what he can do here, trying to catch up to the back of James Johnson here. But Nico Barkley looking nice and calm through these 2, 3 and 4. He's under no pressure right now as Roner comes into the pits.
Not sure what's happened, and I'm guarantee we just got a pit lane speeding penalty as well. It was a very fast entry and nearly spun out. But Roner, I'm not sure what's just happened because he just pit. He was one of the ones that just pit on lap 90.
Well, I think we know about that. Unfortunately, we'll have to just and see what happens when he comes back out of the pits. Front of the field does allow Barkley and Johnson to sort of get on with their fight.
Big crash, turn 2.
Yep, that is. Oh, it's Casanovas.
He's on fire.
Literally on fire. See what happened to him there. Comes through T2. Oh, there's a car comes out of the pit lane. What was that there?
Vekolski.
Vekolski comes out of the pit lane far too quickly. Just falls into the track and causes a massive incident. I'm surprised we haven't got yellow, to be honest.
Not the pit lane. I think he caught the wall on the entry to the turn. He was coming out of T1, hit the wall coming out of T1, went across the pit lane exit, and then just back onto the track. He had no control of his car after he hit the wall there. Massive suspension damage. So Vekolski immediately retires after that, of course, but took Casanovas out in the process. Ouch, indeed.
So Curtis, can give us a opinion there as a driver?
Massive mistake, or maybe he bumped the wall trying to get a decent line into turn 1 and just kind of threw him into the pit wall. That's one of those things you don't really see too much here at Indy. I mean, especially with the real race, it's kind of tough to make a huge mistake like this. Usually what gets you in these is the little tiny mistakes, like coming out of a corner and brushing a wall, or coming into a corner and brushing a wall, which is the only thing I can imagine happened.
So we did not get a caution as well. I was definitely expecting this to have all settled down, but it hasn't. Nico Barkley only 0.355 over Johnson. Johnson not out of it yet, and Wude has gotten a massive gap to Milan. Because of that, of course, Vekolski was the one in 3rd or 4th or 5th, something like that, and Vekolski is now completely out. So Wude is sort of an isolated 3rd. Milan over 10 seconds behind Wude, but Milan, through all of that, has ended up 4th.
So carnage on track right now. Only 12 cars left running with not even half distance yet. Looks like Milan is just letting his teammate through. That's Nico Barkley. Sorry, that was Stephen Miller. Sorry, they very similar colours out there. Nico Barkley still leading the race from James Johnson, struggling with a little bit of dirty air there through 3 and through 4, but Johnson looking feisty at this point.
See how this goes through T1 and 2, because Barkley's done sort of the swing out wide, as I was saying. It's not necessarily a defensive line, it's just sort of carrying the momentum through the corner. Johnson's getting a huge draft in. It's just about the corners now. And he does, again, swings out wide. He gets the understeer and actually hits the wall a little bit, does Johnson. So Johnson, that's not going to be helping his front end speed and his top end speed whatsoever. Johnson getting a little bit of damage there as he tries to take the fight to Barkley. Doesn't even follow Barkley on his swing out, which is not a good strategy. You want to stay in the draft at all times.
maybe not feeling the pressure right now. Maybe he's not too interested in leading this race at this point. As we nearly cover one more lap after this before we get to the halfway point of this 200 lap race. As Johnson again opting not to go into Barkley's slipstream, as Barkley again gets a little bit more time there down the straight.
Yeah, and he will do. I mean, Johnson's big advantage at the moment is that he doesn't have to run in clean air. He gets the draft on the straight. But maybe, I mean, because of the understeer was so severe for a few corners, maybe he wants that little bit of a gap. Like you were saying, maybe he wants the gap to have cleaner corners and cool his tires down.
Well, you kind of want to keep your tires as fresh as possible. It's still a long, long way left in this race, and there's no reason to push it too hard right now. That being said, you never know. Sometimes you feel a little better in the lead, but Barclay has been known to be very aggressive when chasing out for the lead, so maybe just let him expend his tires.
Incidentally, Fernandez is up to 6th out of all of that as he continues his recovery drive.
We finally hit the halfway mark here in Indianapolis. 100 laps completed, 100 to go. The leaders Nico Bartley from James Johnson, Van der Woude in 3rd, and Milan in 4th, Sebastian Rodriguez 5th. Big story, of course, would be Jose Casanovas, who been from bad to worse. Recently got up in a big incident which retired him from this race, and we only have 12 cars remaining of this 26 car field.
High attrition rate, and not what we want to see. I think a lot of those incidents were avoidable. Certainly pit lane entry incidents were avoidable, and that's caused a couple of the retirements that we're seeing right now.
The commentary team is going to step aside for just 2 minutes. We'll be back in a bit. We are back here at the SRC Indianapolis 500. Camera currently on Nico Barkley, your leader, still pulling away. But during our little break in the comms there, we had James Johnson from second place pit in, and the green flag. He's now down to 6th position. Now Alexander van der Woede is now up into 2nd. As always, today I'm joined by Troy Ewan and Curtis Kenyon in the booth. Troy, been a bit of an interesting one so far, lots of attrition so far, but Nico somewhat unfazed by it.
Yeah, Nico's done really well to get through all the incidents. Carlos Fernandez continues his run to recovery, and Boris Vakulski unfortunately has retired in the middle of all that as well. So we do have another retirement from Vakulski and Casanovas. So we are losing a couple of cars there, but nevertheless, Barkley leads by 6 seconds over Rude.
So at the moment it seems like pretty easy at the front. Quite a big gap there between your 2nd and 3rd place, with Rodriguez now being promoted up into 3rd place somewhere. I'm not sure he saw himself being at this point in the race, but Borja Milan in 4th, with Carlos Fernandez in 5th position. James Johnson in 6th, we said earlier on. Sam McDonald 7th, Rona in 8th, Stephen Miller 9th, Jake Hall 10th, Angioni 11th, and Darrell Russell multiple laps down in 12th position.
James Johnson actually having pitted is not far back behind Fernandez, so Fernandez is yet to do a stop on this ladder rotation. But that's how far up Fernandez has gotten.
Even after all of that, they're still very close together on track, it seems.
Yeah, Fernandez, despite having all the incidents, 3 or 4 pit stops within a very short amount of time, has made up a lot of time, and Johnson on a regular pit rotation drops behind him. Now, obviously, Fernandez is going to have to stop, do his stop and everything. Johnson's going to swing right, around and back into 5th, no problem. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Fernandez has made up a lot of ground to be where he is now, and he nearly got onto the same lap as all the leaders, as we were saying during that last pit safety car period, electing to take his stop around when the lap car pit stop rotation came around. But nevertheless, Fernandez he's in there. And he's 5th. I mean, he's 5th overall. He was, back down in 12th or 13th after that slew of pit stops he had under the safety car period. So back up to 5th for Fernandez. Good recovery.
He actually lapped the last lap a second faster than Borja Milan, which is really interesting to. So that's 8/10 fast. So going pretty quick as Fernandez at the moment. I think he's actually currently the fastest guy on the circuit, bar Nico Barkley. No, he is faster than Barkley, so Fernandez is the current fastest man on circuit. The field is quite spread out now, so it's all down to the setup. Not much slipstream coming to play around here. And someone that can tell us a little bit about setup is Curtis Kenyon, who we have in the booth. Curtis, we spoke a bit earlier about, Troy and I spoke a bit earlier about having different setups for qualifying and the race. Can you maybe let us in a little bit there as to what sort of setup differences you have between qualifying and the race?
At one point, I had a completely different setup for qualifying compared to my race setup. At some point, they ended up melding together. Most of it is aero, and obviously the fuel. You're obviously going to have way less fuel on board, but you can kind of balance the car a lot just by using the aero. You don't really have to work with the wedge too much. And I personally ran a little bit different on the camber. That was a personal choice, whereas my teammates elected not to do that. There are little tweaks here and there, and I'm talking like 1 or 2 clicks that can completely change the car when you're hurtling your car at 230 miles an hour. And even then, one little tap of the brake, and this is true on all oval races, one little tap of the brake when you're entering a corner can make your car do a completely different thing than it did the last lap when you didn't do that, or even just lifting. And you can even tune that using a little suspension. But that said, we might have a little bit of a race in our hands.
We do still want to keep an eye on, because Borja Milan still being caught by Fernandez away back there. We have Stephen Miller and Jake Hall there. Everyone's quite spread out right now, it seems, so we're just going to have to just wait and these guys come back together again. But we'll keep an eye on it. It's okay. We've still got our trusty go-tos, and Carlos Fernandez still just pulling in lap after lap. He's closing right up to Borja Milan. The gap now down to just under a back straight, as Borja Milan now coming into T3 as Fernandez comes out of T2. another 6 attempts that lap. The gap is about 10 seconds or so at this point, but it's constantly coming down. Johnson is just about doing the same sort of lap times as Fernandez, but not quite enough to stay with him. But Rodriguez doing well in third place at this point. Rodriguez actually coming around, it seems, to lap Verona.
Yeah, Rodriguez has sort of benefited a lot from just keeping out of trouble this whole race, and he finds himself in third. Milan just a few seconds behind, and then Fernandez, of course, behind Milan, as you said. Funnily enough, Fernandez is actually behind Nico Barkley on physical track position. So Nico Barkley, of course, the overall leader, and Fernandez looking at the spot he used to hold on track. But Fernandez, we're talking about, who's going faster, Barkley or Fernandez. I've sort of been watching them pretty much running the same speed, the same pace, but of course Fernandez not getting as much attention in lap traffic as Barkley might have been doing.
We've got Darrell Russell in the pit lane at the moment for a green flag stop. This will likely be a long stop for him. Darrell Russell pretty much out of the race at this point, multiple laps down, but still going round, still putting in laps. And bear in mind that he was one of the slower class. I think he qualified 23rd around here, and just through staying in the race, he's now up to 12th. So can't really argue that, can you?
No, he's kept in it. He has stayed. Well, he's stayed in it. That's the thing. That's the key. He didn't give up, and none of his damages were worthy of retirement. So he stayed in. And it's a special event. It's the Indy 500. It's such an epic event to run a full-length Indianapolis 500. It's a very technical requirement. It's a very demanding ask of a driver to run 500 miles here around Indianapolis. So well done to these guys. They're sticking in it. It is not an easy race to run.
I'd also like to point out that most of these guys are road racers. I'm seeing a lot of names from when I used to race here at the VEC. And running a track like this is totally different than a road race. Granted, you're basically just turning left in a sort of road race style sort of way, but with the aero and the speeds, and like you said, there's a certain technical aspect of taking these corners properly that makes it extremely challenging.
And this, is of course as Van Wuda pits from third and Milan goes into third. This is the first oval race for SRC, and I think having the first oval race for this league be a full-length Indy 500, I think these guys have done very well.
Still going round now, of course. Nico Barkley still leading the way, and Nico, a driver that I know very well, as you said before, just known really for his road course driving, as Sebastian Rodriguez up into second place now after that pit stop. Rodriguez is finding himself higher and higher at this point.
Yeah, he's doing really well, and Rodriguez goes by Jake Hall to put him a lap down again as well. So he's 30 seconds off the lead, Rodriguez. Barkley next. Van Wuda drops down into 6th after that stop. Now he's going to be looking at the back of Johnson, who again was very fast as well. So Barkley must be coming up for a stop here soon as well.
Another green flag stop. This is the longest green flag period so far, lasting just over 30 laps at this point, as Nico Barkley will come round to complete lap 127 onto lap 128. Let's check in with Carlos Fernandez, still gaining time, hand over fist on Borja Milan in front. Another 8 attempts of that lap as Darrell Russell almost hits the wall there on the inside, and Fernandez is going to have a little bit of a toe from the cars in front. Fernandez is one of the drivers out there who we really thought was going to run away with this, but a couple of instances in the pit lane, and it's put him a bit further down the field, but it's by no means over here for the Atlantic driver.
No, he's still in it again. We talk about how quickly it can change in a road course. You see Nico Barkley get caught up behind Darrell Russell a little bit. Fernandez weaves in between. That's the overall leader in a lap car. Very, very close maneuvering from Fernandez, but he does ultimately do it as Darrell Russell actually hits the wall behind. That's not going to bring a safety car. It does look like he got onto the apron safely. Barkley is going to hit the lane, though, so this will be green flag stop for Barkley and Fernandez.
That's going to be a penalty for Barkley. He came flying into the pits. I have a feeling he crossed that line going way too fast, though.
Back up and take a look.
Yeah, some drivers there being caught out by just the difference in speed between green flag racing and the pit stop. We'll see if you get a look at that, but he did look a bit too fast there for Nico Barkley coming into the pit lane.
I think he got it stopped just in the nick of time, the absolute last millisecond.
That's one way of doing it, isn't it? And Nico Bartley in the pits and back out again. We'll see very shortly whether he has had a penalty or not. Carlos Fernandez up into third spot, and he's going to have to run probably on Barkley. Just the speed coming out of T2 and 3. He's got the overspeed there, but I think Barkley's got a bit of room there. Here comes Fernandez then in the background. Not going to be quite close enough for a move, but definitely a lot closer enough to form. We'll see now if Barkley's got the penalty. He'll come back through, see if he crosses that start-finish line, or does he dive back into the pit lane. Looks like he stays out. So looks like he got away with that just. So that was one stop there. Looks like Fernandez now coming into pit doing the same thing as Barkley. Did he get a slow down in time? That was locking all the way into the pit lane there. So everyone taking big risks here with his pit stops.
Yeah, Rodriguez is going to pit from the lead as well. So Johnson will move back into second, Barkley back into first. So that's how the pit stop rotation has gone around. Sam McDonald pits a little further down as well. And just like that, Milan from third to seventh. So these different strategies, there's a lot of different rotations coming in right now. We can see a few of them, like Fernandez and Rodriguez, are on the same rotation, courtesy of all of the incidents that have happened, but there's a lot of different rotations coming out. And as we get closer and closer to the end of the race, we're going to see some potential splashes that are really going to shake up the order very quickly, so it's not over until it's over.
Definitely not. As we come into lap 131 now. Getting nice and deep into this race. Nico Bartley still leading. Just about got away with a very enthusiastic pit entrance. James Johnson back into second place with Van the Welder in third place. Carlos Fernandez in fourth after coming out there. So it seems the pit stop now isn't quite as detrimental to your lap position as it was before. But of course, track position is still a thing, and not many drivers still in the lead lap.
And as we say that, yeah, Fernandez, one of the ones that he's right on the lead lap. He got overtaken by Barkley as he exited the lane. So Barkley put him back down on to the lap just behind the lead. Osvaldo Angeloni retires with the DNF.
I was kind of expecting Fernandez to stay out a little bit longer. I didn't see when he last pitted. I think I was still out on the track at that time. Although with him being a lap down, I kind of assumed that he had a few more laps to go. He might have been able to put a gap on Barkley.
Well, a lot of them, so Fernandez actually joined the pit rotation with others, so that he sort of got on the same rotation.
That's going to be a tough one to break, too, because that might be, assuming we don't have any more cautions, or maybe one or two, that might be the way to get around the leader at this point then.
Yeah, I was sort of rooting for him to go off strategy, but yeah, when it came around to when all the lead cars pitted on the first wave by behind the safety car, a lot of lead cars pitted. Fernandez was back up to like third. He was on the lead lap, and then he decided to pit as well when it came for the lap cars to pit. As Fernandez almost gets caught by Darrell Russell going into T3. That was very, very close to another incident. So Fernandez, not what he needs after doing all this work to get back up to fourth.
Scary stuff there. Don't need to be taking too many risks at this point, of course, but what the people have to realise is that just like endurance racing, this sort of oval event, it's all about being there at the end. You can be leading for 150 laps and then end up having an incident there and going out. Doesn't matter, you've got to be at the front in the last 10 laps or so to really have a chance of winning this event. And right now, Nico Bartley is doing the best to make sure he is there at the front when that time comes. 134 laps down, be 135 across the line this lap. So looking good for that one ASO car at this point anyway.
Tobias Roner has definitely dropped back as opposed to positions he had earlier on.
Johnson's in the wall.
Johnson, huge collision, lost the front wing. This is going to bring out a safety car.
Just to see what happened there, it's Darrell Russell again getting involved in an incident. Actually, no, that's from James Johnson. James Johnson just goes into the back of Darrell Russell, nowhere to go, hits the wall. James Johnson then, I think, is that him out of this race?
He has gone back to the garage.
He
has retired, so then we're down to 10. Caution out. Pretty good stint that time on the green flag, but caution nonetheless, and that's really Barkley's main challenger now out of the race.
Yeah, Johnson was in prime position, and a retirement at this point is just heartbreaking. He's done 135 laps of the 200 in such a good spot. That was on the door of the podium finish. Just needed to bring it home. Very unfortunate with lap traffic.
And that's one of the things I was touching on earlier, is as you start to approach lap traffic, the reverse is also true. As you approach a car, your front end will kind of go away a little bit. If you're not expecting it or you're not used to that, it can catch you out. Caught me out a couple times during practice.
And it looked like Johnson was trying to go to the inside of Darrell Russell between 3 and 4. So maybe not as patient as he could have been. But obviously he was in the thick of it for the podium fight. This is going to bring the field all back together, though. We were saying a little earlier on, a lot of people are spaced out. So that's not going to be the case. Everyone on the same lap right now, including the leaders, they're going to be line astern, side by side, nose to tail, going into the next restart here.
Now, what Fernandez needs to do, because it looks like he is actually behind Barclay at this point, is to just draft him and stay with him this whole time. Maybe force a mistake or something like that, and just force that mistake, like I said, and make him either go up the track in a corner or slow him down just a little bit, and he should be able to get around and get his lap back naturally, which will be kind of insane to watch.
Yeah, and so Wude is the one who's going to pit actually from second. So he got all that track position back, and he's going to pit from second. We'll see what happens with sort of the wave by. He might get caught behind the entire grid as he reforms behind the safety car after this stop. Barkley's going to continue to lead. Fernandez into third, still a lap down on Barkley. So hopefully Fernandez does not pit as well. These guys all just sort of pitted, though. So Wude actually the one pitting under caution. It might work out better for him in the end, but the gap to Barkley was decent.
Yes, that means now Jake Hall is our last placed driver at the moment, still in it though at this point. And is Darrell Russell still here? Is he tired? No, Darrell Russell is still in the race. Sorry, he just hasn't quite done the amount of laps that Angeloni or James Johnson's done so far. So he's still sort of running around. Nor has Jake Hall yet to actually overtake on laps. Van der Rude. I guess he pitted in because he's now right up the back of the field. It's interesting.
Yeah, he did pit under that caution. He will rejoin. His prompt says Roner, so he is going to be behind the train of cars. He rejoins behind Roner. He is not. His low speed display does not tell him to go further up. So as the lap cars are now going to head towards the lane, I think that's Rodriguez. It is Rodriguez is going to be the only one of the lap cars to take the lane. A lot of these guys again pitted just before this came out.
The last lap then under the caution. Barkley primed to continue what's been a fairly decent run for him at the moment, still running at the front. His next rival is Van der Wilder, I should say, sorry. It's a bit further down the field. Quite a few cars in between him and Barkley, so Barkley's got a bit of a buffer there for the restart.
And it should be said that we're not deep enough into the race to have this be the last round of pit stops. So there will be at least one more set of pit stops from everyone, as we have about 60 laps to go and about 39 laps for a full green stint. So just need to get around that point before you have your final pit stop, or past it, obviously. So should be able to do this all in one pit stop for the rest of these guys. Pretty much everybody. One more pit stop.
So yeah, then coming back up to green flag. You see Barkley there just trying to warm the tyres up after being stationary for so long. They've been used to going 240 mph plus, and when they're slowed down, they cool down pretty quickly. Just backing the field up, he will take control after the safety car peels into the pit lane.
Hopefully Fernandez doesn't do anything too silly to get his lap back, but he does look like he just wants to get the lap back and start running his pace with clean track. Wude is a few seconds back, marred behind several cars, so Woody's just going to need to keep it out of trouble. As we go green, Barkley will take the field into T1.
Saying that, Van der Rude made a big gap there, got past a lot of that coming very quickly. He's already up behind Darrell Russell, goes past him now, and it's now just him and one of the, I think it's Sam McDonald in front as well.
Fernandez all over the back of Nico Barkley. Nico doesn't really need this, but Fernando does, and Milan gets involved as well. They go almost 3 wide into T3. Barkley goes to nearly passing Milan. Fernandez is going to keep around the outside. He wants this spot. Barkley is not happy about it. He wants that spot back, but Fernandez is going to have it. So if Barkley gives it to him, Fernandez might be able to have his run and go through, but Barkley is not looking like he wants to give it up. He's looking racy.
In the best interest of Barkley to let it go. Fernandez obviously in no rush to let Barkley back through, and plans to do that if he wants to win this race. He needs to be on that lead lap, of course. But all this squabbling has allowed Van der Velde to try and get into the back of Milan, who's a bit further back. But a good start from Van der Velde there, still in second place. You see the guys in front. If something does happen in front, he's prime to lead of this race.
Barkley's got to be real careful. It is in his best interest, I think, just to let Fernandez go. He's not an immediate threat, and Fernandez was running a really quick time. So he's 40 seconds behind Barkley, basically. He's almost a full lap. So it's not an immediate threat, and if we have another caution, it won't even matter.
As Van der Velde goes past Milan now, so now there's no one between Nico Barkley and Van der Velde on track. That is first and second. But Barkley is currently lapping quicker at this point.
Yeah, Wude did get past Milan, who was a lap down on him. So Wude, Barkley, and Fernandez, the only three, the top three are the ones on the lead lap, as I believe McDonald on Milan for legitimate track position 4 and 5.
You're right there, McDonald is right up behind Porsche Milan now. And Porsche had a little bit of a bad run actually since the restart. Lost a bit of time up since that 3-wide action right at the start. But Sam McDonald now on the back, and got Rona behind as well. That's for position, I think, going up into inside. No, yes, it is a position. So Rona now goes up into fifth position up the inside of the Velo Sam McDonald's car, and now is onto the back of Porsche Milan. Rona, one of the faster guys, obviously has led laps this race as well, looking to try and get back up towards the quick end of this field.
He's done really well to get around McDonald. He's going to go for 2 for 1 lap. Roner into 4th, passes Milan and McDonald. Well done by Roner. Keeps it clean all the way through, and he's back on the back of Woody. Now he is a lap down still. And Fernandez again, the one who passed Barkley, is Tobias Roner's next car up. So Fernandez has legitimately gotten around Roner on pit rotation and had a good gap. So Roner P4, P4, 5, and 6 all together on track. Rodriguez in 7th, a little bit further back.
So next up for Rona will be Carlos Fernandez, who's a bit further up the road, obviously in front of our leader right now. And as it stands, Fernandez is starting to pull away from Barkley a bit. He's to really get the bit between his teeth though. He wants to try and get that lap back and then challenge for the lead. He still has to get past Van der Velde as well, who will be between himself and Barkley. But a long way until that happens. Lap 144 completed, or 143 completed, sorry, up onto 144. Nearly at 3/4 distance now, this 500.
The significance of what Fernandez has just done here, so there's nothing to win there for Barkley, but there's everything to win there for Fernandez. He's just gotten on the lead lap legitimately. Roner's still not on the lead lap. Roner has to get up to Barkley and pass him to get back onto that lead lap. So if a caution were to come out now, Fernandez, with his 40-second gap to Wude, would essentially go down to nearly 0, less than 10 seconds as he queued up behind the safety car. So Fernandez getting on the lead lap here. It's been a long time coming, but he's done it. He's in 3rd on the lead lap. This recovery drive is something of an epic story.
I've been watching
McDonald
Roner right now too. Sorry to interrupt you. I've been watching Roner now too. He just got around Vanderwood. Pretty fast too. I mean, grabbed the draft and just took off. Vanderwood might be having a bit of an issue keeping his speed up in the corners, it seems.
Guys, Sam McDonald crashed. I don't think he meant to go into the lane. He was following Borja Milan. Sort of got out of the draft and accidentally flew into the pits, did Sam McDonald. So it's definitely going to be a speeding penalty, not to mention the damage from crashing in the pit lane.
Lucky enough though, it did not cause a caution. So we'll continue on for now, but another car out of the running, so to speak. And Fernandez really has gapped Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley just going for a little bit more conservative. Protect the tires. Wude 7 seconds behind still. Yeah, as you say, Roner got by Wude.
down for Nico Barkley, and at this point now he must be wondering at just how fast is Fernandez. Is he going to catch me? He's got 50 laps to try and catch me, and currently he is lapping about half a second a lap slower than Fernandez in front, which is enough at the moment to take the win, of course, if it were to go green to the end. But if it doesn't go green, there's another incident caution on track that will be played right into Fernandez's hands. So Barkley will try and figure out all the permutations in his mind right now and try and think of the best strategy for him at this point.
Keeping it tidy, Fernandez is gunning it. Fernandez is going for it as he catches up onto the back of Darrell Russell into T1, so hopefully lap traffic doesn't mar him too much. We'll do sort of almost an up and under crisscross on Darrell Russell into T1, so well done by Fernandez. Sort of the story of the second half of this race is how far can Fernando reclimb and retake this position. Again, he was leading. For those wondering why we're focusing on Fernandez so much, he was leading a majority of the race up until the moment he wasn't, by having 3 pit stops under pretty much the same safety car period.
Barkley's turn to negotiate Russell, who switches lines there. Not quite the best idea to do that, Darrell, but Barkley threw it okay, but definitely held up there on the exit. That's all going to play into Fernandez's hands. Meanwhile, behind, Fernando just doesn't really have any response, it seems, at this point, just sort of just driving around at his own pace, but still in second place. Not a bad go from him at all.
Towards the end of these races, you do sort of get to now. Keep in mind, we've been here for a long time. The drivers are not going to want to do anything silly. We do have less cars on track right now, so the chance of a safety car period and incidents does go down. But obviously, we have people on various laps right now, and only 3 people on the lead lap.
A quick peek at Rona, seeing what he's up to right now. He's currently running 4th on track. Borja Milan behind him. Sebastian Rodriguez has fallen down the order now after pit stops. He's down to 6th place with Stephen Miller in 7th. And everyone going so far is going to be finishing in the top 10 at this point. Darrell Russell is still classified as 11th place. He hasn't quite done the same amount of laps as James Johnson, just to show you how far off the back he is. He's currently 20 laps off the back of Johnson right now, despite the fact Johnson has DNF, so that shows you how far down Russell is, but he's still running, so Sam McDonald into the pits.
I mean, this is potentially for a drive-through from his rather unplanned entry into the pits. It does look like he's actually swerving towards his box, and he is, so another stop in the box for Sam McDonald. He was in that nice fight for 4, 5, 6, and now he's dropped all the way back out to 8th. And Jake Hall in 9th might actually grab McDonald here. Jake Hall comes onto the front straight now. McDonald still exiting the lane. This will be for legitimate position as McDonald gets onto lap 148. Same as McDonald, and McDonald going through the lane now, and Jake Hall up to 8th.
Not much to do. Jake Hall's had such an overspeed. Sam McDonald will rejoin in 9th position. Hopefully we can maybe get back up with Jake for the purpose of our broadcast anyway. But Fernandez coming around T1 now as the car comes. I think that was McDonald actually having a bit of a weird exit back onto the track there. Nearly actually got off circuit and went back into Fernandez. But at this point, Fernandez is absolutely on a flyer right now.
Fernandez has been doing low 40s, pretty much 40.1, 40.0. He had a few 39s as this restart started, so he is pushing it very hard. If we have a look at Nico's times, Nico's mid-40s, 40.3, 40.4. So definitely several tenths a lap faster than Nico Barkley. And Barkley, of course, we know is running slightly faster than Wude, and indeed, Wude's had a series of 41s actually. Woody's over a second off the pace at this point.
And some issues with that car there, Curtis sort of. Oh, we have a spin in front. I think that's Darrell Russell's spin on the circuit there. No, it's Jake Hall. Sorry, Jake Hall has the spin. Manages to collect it up though. No yellow thrown for that, but Jake Hall narrowly avoiding an incident there. Let's have a look and see what happened. He got loose there. Car just got loose from him coming through T4. Big spin. Manages not to hit anything, but those tyres will be very second hand now.
And Sam McDonald, because of that, came back around Jake Hall back into 8th. And apologies, Chris.
It's okay.
I was going to say he needs to stay out of the way of the oncoming traffic. Rotor was coming through on a hot lap. This one thing you got to do at this track is just stay towards the left as much as possible on the straightaways if you're going slow. And then the hard part, of course, staying towards the most inside line through these left corners. Everybody can go around you on the outside. It's much easier to do that than it is on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw that with, I believe it was Vekulski going to the inside of Darrell Russell in between 3 and 4, causing that incident. It is easier for the faster cars to go around the outside. In the lap cars just need to stay down low, almost on the apron. Don't touch the apron, but almost there.
I'm sure Jake will be breathing a sigh of relief that managed to not hit anything. He's still down in 9th position now, however, so of course not quite the best race for Jake Hall, but for attrition of everyone else, he's kept in and kept going, which is more than he said for half of the field.
So Jake Hall did not hit the wall or anything when he spun?
Nope, missed everything. Just had a massive drift through T3. Nearly hit the inside wall, but just managed to cloak it up before then. So everything okay for Jake. But he's out there lapping again. Tires are probably flat spotted a little bit right now. He'll be feeling out for the 4C back on his wheel. Otherwise the car is okay.
Actually, as we just said, that he clouded the T3 wall, so now he's hit something at least. But I was just thinking Sam McDonald did get back by him. Jake Hall, though, is probably due for a stop here in a little bit as well. So Sam McDonald will probably get a huge benefit from that, as Sam McDonald over a lap down on Stephen Miller for 8th. So that sort of accidental emergency pit stop spin around that McDonald had has really taken him from the battle for 5th and 6th down to 8th over a lap down. Several laps down now at this point, actually.
Nico Barkley, your leader at this point then, on lap 157, 3/4 of the race elapsed, under a quarter of it to go at this point. Nico running around the front, and only competition really is going to be Carlos Fernandez at this point, because Van der Velde is just fading, not quite being able to keep the same place. He was last lap was over a second slower than both Barkley and Fernandez, so struggling out there maybe with some sort of damage at this point as Darrell Russell makes his way into the pit lane for a green flag pit stop.
Woody is definitely not running the same sort of pace. Fernandez has made massive ground on Wude in the past few laps. Massive ground, nearly a second a lap. Nearly a second a lap at Indy.
Just showing you that maybe that car, it must be damaged. There's no other explanation, because Alexander is not a slow driver in these things. He qualified, I think he qualified up into 2nd place in the end, given all the issues in qualifying for other drivers and doing that, etc. But at the moment, still in 2nd place, so still doing a good job, but just not being able to keep the pace of the leaders.
Can I just say that skin on his car is absolutely insane, awesome?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's an interesting job.
That's great. That right there is absolute awesomeness.
Wude is going to pit as well, so this will put Fernandez into 2nd overall right now. Fernandez on the home straight, while Wude is in the pits, takes 2nd in this race.
And it all becomes a little bit more interesting then, as your lead cars now, Nico Barkley and Carlos Fernandez. With Fernandez still lapping quicker than Barkley, 2 attempts out lap. It isn't going to be enough at this rate. But if there is a caution, and you sort of flat, but I'm not quite sure on pit stops where they are on their strategy, but if there is a caution, that'll bring them right back together to give the advantage to Fernandez. But 40 laps left of this race, what can Carlos Fernandez do? Stay with us and find out.
And I think, what Woody has just done there is he's hopefully that was his last stop. There's exactly 40 laps to run. Hopefully he's knowledgeable about his fuel usage, and he can get to the end on that final stop, which would mean Woody is the first of our runners to take their final pit stop of the race.
So it's going to be a bit closer on that fuel. It's he has to be a bit. I think he might be a splash him at the end there, because we have 40 laps left. But if he can make it last towards the end, that could work into his favour. Maybe that's what he's been doing. He's been going a bit slower. So maybe he has been trying to make an effort to save fuel.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. If he knew he was just trying to get to 40 laps to go, just trying to stretch the stint he was on, just one extra lap, and then take his final pit stop and do the same thing again. Could be in a good spot here, especially if cautions come out, he'll be safe. He'll save a lot of fuel under caution, and you know, if he's the only one that's not pitting under caution, he'll get some track position back as well.
All we can do right now, though, is watch Fernandez and watch him just eat up that gap to Barkley. He's got a long way to go yet before it becomes a realization that he may be able to still win this race, but it has been Fernandez's race to lose, and he has sort of done so. I'm not quite sure what happened to him earlier on the race. Some sort of issue in the pit stop met him pitting quite a few times. It was 3 times in the space of 3 laps, which ended up losing him all that time. But to be anywhere near at this point is a testament to how well he's been driving today.
He's doing really well. He's on the lead lap, 34 seconds behind Nico. Nico, of course, well, both of these guys do need to stop again. So he's just, at this point, so Roner pits from 3rd as well. So Roner's taking his final stop. So these guys, they all pitted. They could have gone longer. It must be said. These guys could have gone longer, but they're pitting right now under green, under the assumption that they'll be green for the rest of the race, and they'll have been the first ones to take their final stop, which is kind of what you want to do. Curtis, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of what you want to do in oval racing, is be the first one to take your last stop and then hope that safety cars give you the track position back.
Yeah, but the other thing is that there isn't too many cars on the track for that to happen, so it's possible that kind of got a little bit out of sequence and maybe trying to catch someone, trying to catch the next position, might have caused him to either burn more fuel or burn his tires out. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't burnt these tires out yet. I usually run out of fuel twice before I actually need tires. So just taking tires is mostly just to make sure you have the most optimal grip as much as possible. So he's going to have to do some stretching, though, because I think it was Jimmy who said that the fuel tank isn't going to last to the end of the race.
Yeah, Van der Woede was the first one to pit with 40 laps to go. Our estimates and the information we had was 38 to 39 laps of fuel. So Roner should be fine now, right on the cusp with 38 laps to go when he pitted.
If Van der Woede catches someone and allows himself to just draft him for a little while, maybe 2 or 3 laps, I think that might be enough. Maybe.
Since he's come out of the pits, he's continued doing 41s. Either he is damaged, as we've been speculating, or he is saving fuel, as we've also been speculating. So either way, we're not wrong.
But he is now in a fight for what will be 5th position. Sort of involved now with Milan getting past as well. So you have to think, when is enough time to save fuel? When can I stop actually saving fuel? Start doing it too much and end up losing time and track.
And Wuda and Rodriguez are on track for position right now. So Rodriguez not saving fuel. He hasn't done his final pit stop yet, but he's not saving fuel. And he was looking at the back of Wuda. Did get caught behind Darrell Russell here in T3-4. But Rodriguez going faster than Wuda, so this might get interesting. Nico Barkley is going to hit the lane.
This should be our last pit stop there for Nico Barkley at this point. So he'll come in, get fuel for the end, and then go. Of course, this does mean that at this point, if Fernandez comes in, his pit stop will be a bit shorter, could be fueling a little bit less onto pit lane. So Fernandez will gain a little bit through that the last stop. He hasn't got to fill up a full tank, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough at this point. I think there needs to be a caution for Fernandez to cap Barkley.
I think so as well. Fernandez is going to take first. It will take Barkley a couple of corners to get out of the pit exit apron. So Fernandez into first of the race. It's been a while since we've seen him in P1, but Fernandez P1 overall. And Woody and Rodriguez are getting closer and closer. Rodriguez...
Oh, that was close.
That was close. Rodriguez on the back of Woody as Nico Barkley actually exits the lane. So technically, Woody gets back onto the lead lap as well. Sebastian Rodriguez and Nico Barkley go side by side. Rodriguez is just focused on Woody. Barkley just needs to stay behind. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. And Rodriguez is loose. Sebastian Rodriguez is one slight slip up of the throttle from spinning it out.
Maybe he's trying a bit too hard at this point, and Stuff's getting a bit worn. It's possible on worn tyres to have these incidents. Of course, we saw Jake Cole have a spin at T3, so maybe same is true of Rodriguez, and running in dirty air is not going to help that. But this all benefits Van der Welde in front, who just needs to be chilled. He needs to just get on with it. He hasn't quite got the pace right now. For whatever reason, the car is slow. Maybe he's saving fuel. We're unsure at this point. We can only speculate. But he needs to try and be nice and clean right now, nice and chill. As behind him, I think that's actually Milan. No, sorry, that isn't Milan. That's Barkley behind him. So Barkley's coming around to lap Van der Welde. So that's that lap taken there. So it's now just become a two-horse race. It's just Barkley and Fernandez, the only people who can win this in my eyes at this point.
Barkley is going to clear Wuda into T1, so he will put Wuda back a lap down, 8 seconds behind Fernandez. Fernandez yet to take his final stop. We'll see how this plays out.
And you saw Wuda get way loose as Milan got by him. That's one of those things that the car will arrow push, and then you catch it. And once it catches, that back end wants to come back around, especially if you're sitting in 5th gear. There's a lot of torque in these, 900 horsepower beasts, something like that. There's a lot of torque, and it will snap your car around if you're not prepared.
Milan pits from 3rd, so Wuda is going to get 3rd back. So this is our running order, bar Fernandez, who has yet to stop, and Rodriguez, who has yet to stop in 4th. Roner will get Milan in the pits as well. So Roner up to 5th, having already done his last stop. We think he might need a little bit of fuel saving. Wuda is the critical point. Is he going to need that extra splash? With a caution, Wuda will be fine as well. So it's really just Fernandez. Fernandez is the critical point right now.
Well, then race order yet with Fernandez yet to pit. We have Carlos Fernandez, our leader right now. We're watching him with eyes, but we'll see what he does next. Nico Barkley, who we think will be leading this race once Carlos Fernandez pits. Van der Welde, who's in 3rd. Rodriguez 4th. Rona 5th. Milan 6th. Stephen Miller 7th. Jake Cole 8th. Sam McDowell 9th. And Darrell Russell has come and taken that 10th position off James Johnson after his retirement. Only 10 cars running off 26 started to be a very high attrition race here in Indianapolis, but only 30 laps to go now. The end is almost in sight.
McDonald's in the lane, and he has not shut off his engine. So his car is slowly overheating, and if he doesn't stop his pit stop soon, he will be on fire. Fernandez is in the lane.
So Fernandez in. Barkley past then. This will be the gap at the end of the race, and I think at this point that Barkley has it made. He just needs to relax. He hasn't got to push too much. Fernandez is a big gap to him behind. Fernandez is just coming into his stall now, so it's going to be nearly a lap as opposed to the gap when they stop. So Barkley really is his to lose.
Everything happened under green, so everything we were talking about in terms of taking your last stop under green, going first, the safety car has not come out to play any sort of factor in that at all. So Fernandez is going to rejoin. That's going to be that 30-odd second gap rather, that he had. And McDonald has had to pull off to the side of the road. It's just what I was talking about. I think he overheated McDonald in his stop, and he has retired with an engine. So McDonald not turning off his engine in the pit stop has overheated his engine.
And then there were 9. So just the issue there of running around at 240 plus miles an hour, coming into the pits and stationary. There's no radiator in these cars, no fan. It's cooled by air being forced into the car at high speed. And when that stops, they overheat, and that's what happened to Sam McDowell there. So bad luck for Sam. So into the end there, but no dice for him.
Fernandez legitimately into second. His superior pace has left Wuda behind. Wuda in 3rd, despite Fernandez having taken his final stop. So Wuda just trying to bring it home in 3rd at this point on the fuel saving strategy.
Nico Barkley will come around in a minute to complete his 174th lap. With only 1/8 for this race. 25 laps to go here in Indianapolis to be crowned the inaugural SRC Indy 500 winner. It's looking at this fight. It's going to be Nico Barkley, unless there is some sort of drama towards the end. There's a safety car though that would really pull it into, and Barkley into the wall hard. Saying that, Barkley into the wall hard out of T2 there. Just a little momentary lapse of concentration. Is he okay? Still going down the straight. What sort of speed? It's like, yes, suspension damage to me. He's struggling to keep that in a straight line. 360 Ks then down the straight. He's lost some straight line speed. Drama
that was a hard hit from Barkley. Smashed it in the T1-2 connecting wall. Fernandez may have just gotten a breath of fresh air there. He won't know that, of course, but he'll see the time start to come down. Barkley is not going to be running at full pace.
He's about 15 Ks down the straight line from what I can make out from my reading here. So advantage to Fernandez, it seems. Even with this amount of time remaining, it looks like Fernandez might have just a little sliver of hope here. So again, we'll see those times coming down. We'll see what sort of lap times Barkley does, but he is way down in a straight line. He's doing 360 Ks, not even that going into T4. Fernandez going over T1 is doing 377. So 20 Ks difference in a straight line now, and the lap time last lap Barkley was nearly 2 seconds a lap slower. So now it's all on Fernandez.
Fernandez has taken about 4 seconds in just under 2 laps. This is going to start coming down here. We have 23 laps to go. 25-second gap.
Drama all the way, apparently, here. We've had a lot of incidents in this race so far, and Nico Barkley will be absolutely kicking himself in that cockpit. All that's his mistake, 100%. No one else is involved. He's putting the wall going a bit too fast. Maybe the tyres catching him out, although he's been on the tyres for a while now, so I'm not quite sure how that has happened. But the gap, another 1.4 seconds taken out that lap. Barkley at the moment is just coming over the start-finish line just about now, and Fernandez is halfway down the back straight. So half a lap separate them with 28 or 22 laps to go. This will just be enough to catch him at this rate. It's going to be very close.
All of a sudden, this has ignited for the final 20-odd laps here. Carlos Fernandez already down to 23 seconds since we spoke about it last. He has enough time to do this. He has enough time to do this at this rate. Nico Barkley is struggling at this point. It's really up to these two guys. Wuda is a lap down, and he already had his last stop. Roner might be... Roner's actually a legitimate position right behind Wuda. Wuda is still on that fuel-saving strategy or damage. We don't know which, but Roner is right behind. 3 and 4, nose to tail on track as Roner drafts Wuda into turn 1. Does not take it into aggressive stance quite yet. Takes a wider exit, gives the line to Wuda, and will hold back. Coming out of T2, it might be a draft down the straight.
Yeah, it's looking like he's damaged as well, by the way. He's down on speed right now, which is why Roner is catching him so easy. He's going to go to the outside now of T3. I think it's just going to drive past him in a straight line. Goes to the outside. Ruder on the inside to defend, but it isn't going to be enough. Oh, nearly contact, but round the outside goes Roner up into P3. Ruder in the wall.
Roner the wall, though, because he had to take that extra line. Wuda didn't really tuck in behind so much, so this might be both of them with damage then. Roner does seem to have gotten nice momentum out of the corner despite that hit into the wall. We have 20 laps to go. Fernandez, 21.3 seconds. That is coming down a couple of seconds every couple of laps.
Is anyone going to get to the end of this race in one piece?
I don't think anyone is in one piece anymore.
Was Barkley's to lose, and he's close to losing it now. Another 1.4 seconds that lap. He just nothing he can do about it. He's so slow in a straight line. 41.2. Barkley last lap to a 40.0 to Carlos Fernandez. And the gap is coming right down. Fernandez is almost at the end of almost to T3 as Barkley crosses the line, so he's already gained half a straight.
Fernandez needs to be really careful with traffic here. It's gone through one, he'll go through a second. Fernandez making good time up, just needs to keep it out of the wall. That's the key. Do not hit that wall, and this race will come to you in the final 5 laps or so. He'll be on the back of Barkley.
So it will come down to this. So 19 laps here remaining at Indianapolis. It was Nico Barkley's to lose. Looks like he's lost it, I think. It's going to be really close. Fernandez has got to catch him and pass him. I don't think there's be too much effort when he gets there because of the speed difference. But what Nico can do right now is just put pedal to the metal. He lost a little bit less time last lap, only 7 tenths of a second as opposed to 1.2 seconds, but it's still coming down fast enough for Fernandez to win this.
18 laps to go, 19-second gap. Barkley's suspension damage won't be helping his tire wall either because it's probably giving him a little bit of understeer in the corner, so that would be putting a little bit more strain on the tires.
Luckily, there's some very nice long straightaways here that allow the tire to cool down a little bit, not too much. As long as you stay smooth and consistent through these corners, you should be able to be okay. Although Barclay's back end seems to be wanting to come around a little bit more than normal.
And Wude into the lane. He did not have enough to go to the end. So, rewind back where I said all that stuff about him being the first one and just cut all that. Cut it.
It's interesting, he actually put it really early there. Like, despite that, he put it still 10 laps early, I think.
He did hit the wall when he was passed by Roner, so maybe there was a little bit more damage than it looked. I have a little bit of lag on my side, so it looked insane on my end, but probably on your end it wasn't so bad. That might have taken a little bit of aero damage and possibly a touch of suspension damage. So, gonna need to fix that to get to the end.
Yeah, that may have been the call, absolutely. Okay, so now... Oh, Fernandez has just hit the wall in T2 connection. Oh my word, I was just about to say he's running a solid second a lap faster. We'll see what he does now after that. He clouded the wall after T1. Carlos Fernandez did exactly what he didn't need to do, catching up to lap traffic now.
And the speed is right down for Fernandez. The speed is right down, and that's it, I think. That's Nico Barkley, the winner of this race. That's instant in front. Fernandez throws it away. I'm pushing too hard, I think, at this point, but it was either that or nothing, and I think at this point it's going to be over. Fernandez still a bit faster than Barkley in a straight line, but the speed difference is right down now, so he's going to be losing time. I don't think he's got enough in hand now to catch Barkley.
And it swings back to Barkley's way, exactly. Back to Barkley's court as it's stretched out now to 17 seconds with 15 laps to go. So that ratio of a second a lap and being pretty much lined up perfectly to bring him to the end has gone away. We'll see when the gaps update what it looks like now as Barkley has a little bit of traffic from Miller in T1 and we'll get through. It did come down still. It did come down. Only a couple of tenths though. So we'll see Fernandez what kind of lap times he can put through.
Just seems a lot of these drivers out here maybe not quite prepared to run in traffic. Seen a lot of people run into the wall on the outside here, around here, as you see Fernandez goes to the inside of Rodriguez. The drag race down the straight now. We'll see just how damaged that Fernandez car is. Looks to be enough to get past Rodriguez though, but all time lost, all time matters here. 15 laps left, 14 laps left even now. 13 as Barkley completes the 186 lap onto 187. There's a lap down. Let's see what sort of gap it was after. Last lap for Barkley was, let's see how much slower it was. He's crossing the line now. 5 tenths still, so still half a second out of that gap, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
He's only 10 kilometers faster in the straight, and I think you had mentioned something like 20 odd difference before, if I'm not mistaken, Jimmy. So yeah, Fernandez has lost that straight line advantage completely, and it's going to take him out of it.
It's going to have to come down to who takes, or what kind of damage they've both taken. Both of them have slapped the wall here and there, and if they can hold it together, I think Barkley might be able to edge out Fernandez. But if Barkley decides to start pushing really, really hard and overheats the tire and pushes into the wall, Fernandez might be able to catch him. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, not over yet. Not over yet. And there's still cars coming around. There's people laps down. Anything can happen with traffic, as we've seen. So there's 12 laps remaining for Barkley, 11 when he crosses the line. Almost there, almost to that 500-mile mark. If Nico Barkley could pull either one of them, Barkley or Fernandez, they've both had quite the interesting race. Barkley's a little cleaner. Fernandez on the recovery drive. 14.8 second gap. 11 laps to go. That ratio has come down. It's nowhere near a second a lap anymore.
Big shame for Fernandez and big shame for, of course, us in the booth. We like to see a closer finish than that, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, Fernandez is now just coming out of T2. and Barkley is just coming out of T4 now, so the gap definitely has come down. It will continue to come down to the end of the race, no doubt, but I think the damage has both figuratively and literally been done at this point. Although Rona into a net third, I didn't notice that much room, so Rona seems to have just put himself up into third place. This is someone who has led laps as well, so not too bad for Rona. Not too bad considering I think that he had not too decent of a qualifying session. Also Rodriguez as well, someone else who wasn't quite in the running in qualifying, but just happened to 5th places through attrition. So, but Van der Velde just fallen off. He's not been able to keep the pace. I think he's been damaged as well. So look, down to 6th now. He was in 2nd at one point.
Yeah, as the final quarter of this race, the final 50 laps has not gone well for Ruda at all. Rodriguez legitimately on track after both stops. Ruda, of course, needing that extra stop, but Rodriguez in P5. Milan P4, Roner P3. They're gapped pretty decently. Roner and Milan are 12 seconds apart, so that might come down if Roner's pace drops. Fernandez 14 seconds off the lead now. 9 laps to go, 8 laps to go as Barkley is going to cross the line here soon. It's going to stabilize. It does look like Barkley has got a bit of a breather as he sort of threw it away by hitting the wall. Fernandez nailing lap after lap a second faster, and Fernandez unfortunately hitting the wall as well. Can only do 4 or 5 tenths faster at this point. Barkley saved by the skin of his chin, I would say.
That's going to have to be something for us drivers to learn for the next one whenever SimRacing.Club decides to do another one of these. Going to have to learn how to save these tires as much as possible, because once they do get hot, and I noticed this in the practice race, once they get hot, they will just let go. There is no warning. About 275 degrees Fahrenheit, they just go. They're done, you will spin. And if you're overheating them lap after lap after lap, it's going to make something like this situation with Carlos Fernandez not able to catch, just kind of putting it into the catch fence a little bit, is going to cost him a big one as Russell puts it into the wall, trying to avoid the leader.
That's still a good point. We do have the potential for a caution at any point still. It's not like cautions are impossible. With a big enough incident or a car stopped on track, it could bring out a caution. In which case that would make it a very interesting sprint to the line. But at this point, 13.6 seconds Fernandez.
If there is a caution, then that would really throw it the way of Fernandez, given that he does have the less damaged car of the two leaders at this point. But we're getting to the point now that a caution would end the race not too long now. So maybe lap 196 if that happens, then the laps will be frozen. So there needs to be a caution between now and the next couple of laps if Fernandez is going to win this race, because he is not going to do it on pace. Saying that, 1.2 seconds quicker than Barkley last lap.
Six laps to go, 12.5 seconds. Roner a lap down, unfortunately, is not going to be able to join this fight. He is doing very good times. Oh, as I said, he did sort of drop off at the last time I looked at his times. He might be sort of satisfied with third here, as just trying to keep the gap to Milan in fourth. Just 7 seconds. Actually, Milan is catching Roner. Roner's times are not so impressive anymore. Milan's been solid times through. They're slightly off the pace, but what is the pace at this point? Because our two leaders are not going anywhere near the 40s, or definitely not the 39s we were seeing at the start of this race. Everyone is damaged at this point. They're just trying to bring it home. 11 seconds, Fernandez.
It is, and I feel we should take effort to say that this is the second of a series of special events here at SimRacing.Club. The next event will be announced in only a week's time, and I know what it is already, but I ain't going to tell you because I'm cheeky like that. But it's going to be very interesting. A lot of people will be very interested in it. I myself am interested in maybe taking part, so definitely get signed up and get over there at SimRacing.Club. Follow the Facebook page, Twitter, all the good stuff to be in a chance of getting involved in the next special event. And the best thing about those special events, guys, is no license requirement, no fee, just turn up and race.
So, wait, not even a hint? Not going to get anything?
It's a long race. There you go.
Oh.
It's not an oval. It's not an oval.
It's not an oval. There you go.
Oh.
It's no oval racing. But saying that, Barkley comes on to lap 197, only 3 to go as he comes along across Van der Welde again, goes up the inside of his teammate Borja Milan, who is running in 4th place. Not been a bad day at all for the 1ACO cars, all of them still in it. Stephen Miller down in 7th place, so 1st, 4th and 7th. And Nico he can just really cruise to the end. He should be good on fuel, as should be Carlos Fernandez. And we'll be getting that nice pretty badge next to his name on the forum saying Indy 500 winner in 2 laps time. Lap 198.
Yeah, Carlos Fernandez a little bit too little too late. I'm looking at his lap times. He's in the 40s again. He's been there for quite a few laps, but Barkley's just doing what he has to do to make sure that he secures the win and staying in the 41, low 41s, and save the car, I believe is what Al Unser Jr. would be telling him right now.
Yeah, save the car to Barkley. He can afford to lose a couple of seconds. They're saying that he's just exited turn 4 and Fernandez just going through turn 3. So, you know, it is closer now, but it's, as you said, too little too late. So we're on to what is the last lap of the event now. Nico Barkley just cruising at this point. Just taking it very easy, no need to rush it. Fernandez through T2, sorting Barkley down the straight. You see just how damaged his car is. He's really struggling on speed still, but it doesn't matter. It will be enough. Nico Barkley will come through T3 for the last time, come through T4. And there you go. Nico Barkley comes across the stuff is like weaving. He's happy now to get finally to the end of the Indy 500. Nico Barkley wins the SRC Indianapolis 500 with Carlos Fernandez in a valiant effort coming home in 2nd place. Rona will come by in 3rd position, and that will round out your top 3 of the event, with Borja Milan finishing in 4th position, Sebastian Rodriguez in 5th, Van der Welde in 6th, Stephen Miller 7th, and Jake Hall in 9th position, with Darrell Russell just going around at the end, coming home in 9th position. Only 9 finishers of this event. Well, guys, we won't be hanging around too long after the broadcast, but we'll get your quick thoughts on the race, Troy.
So 2 hours and 42 minutes 5 seconds. That is the final time. Nico Barkley has brought home the SRC Indy 500, the inaugural oval race and Indy 500 at SRC. Well done, Carlos Fernandez, 7.1 in the end. Valiant effort. That recovery drive was so close. It was such an exciting race. So thank you guys for having me on the broadcast, and we'll see you for the next one.
A big thank you as well to Curtis Kenyon for joining us in the booth for the last half of the race after his unfortunate demise. I've been Jimmy Broadbent. I've been joined by Troy and Curtis, and like I said, keep an eye out for the next week. The announcement of the next SRC special event will be out soon. So take care, everyone. Have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.